Hello, and welcome to another episode of InstantQast. This is our 8th episode, I believe, so it's we're going strong, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
I'm your host, Nickel, as always, joined by my beautiful co-host, Judith Priestley. We'll be discussing a lot more conceptual things in the Smite scene right now. There hasn't been too many updates. Obviously, it's been the update, but it's we talked about most of that update last week, so we're going to discuss how it kind of impacted after it dropped this week. But for the most part, it's going to be a little more intellectual of a podcast this time around. So sit back and enjoy. Judas, you told me something happened this week. What happened to you?
It's been another very, very hot day over here, Nickel. We have had yet another heat wave. But not only have we had another heat wave, okay, there's something else special that was going on today. And, not today, but a couple of days ago. So, first of all, like I said, it's very hot. And when it's hot, and I'm talking like you get off the plane in Spain hot, which is when you walk outside, right? Yeah, it's been kind of crazy around here. But it also happened that this week there was a solar eclipse, and it just so happened that in the UK, the city that I live in happened to be one of the hot spots in the entire country to actually watch the solar eclipse. Ooh. So not only was it hot as balls and everyone is outside, you now have thousands of more people just decided to turn up.
Yeah.
So you end up sat in very hot cars for a very long time with everyone trying to travel to the miles-long beaches just to get a glimpse of the solar eclipse. But it did happen
anywhere than from the beach.
You could see it best from the beach because it was a relatively low sun. The beach faced the direction of the sun at that time of day, so it was perfect sort of viewing point. And the beach is long, think like Brazil, it's that type of beach, so you could get a spot, no doubt. But yes, thousands of people there, and obviously the eclipse comes in slowly, but over time the moon just blocks, I think they said 90% of the sun, and it just suddenly gets way darker than it had been.
Did you feel any?
But Nickel, despite
weather change, heat change?
For that it was it was still hot, and obviously beach, so it's heat. Yeah. But it was there was like a cooling, almost like a breeze, but not an actual breeze.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter, Nickel, because despite the lack of heat for that moment and the lights going dim all around us, I could still see how terrible my ranked teammates were going to be that day. And boy, did it hit me hard that day, man. Solar eclipse, oh, not damn it. It was a tough day of Smite after that.
Yeah. That's when you know it's cooked. It's just over. Yep. When even a blinding natural event can't keep you from witnessing the horribleness that the ranked queue gives you.
Yep.
Oh, Jesus Christ! That buckled me. That was funny. Good job setting that one up.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we got an update Tuesday. Bunch of stuff. Last week we talked about most of it. Most prominently the new aspect changes and Echo, which was getting a rework. But the new god, Chel, is kind of what most people are mostly focused on. Everything else is kind of a side piece for the people who's returning to Smite 2 after maybe, not playing for a while, and they just want to play Chel. So, how do you think Chel's doing?
Chel was fun, I've got to say. Did get a few chances to play the god, and feels very similar to how she did in Smite 1. And even though she did have a decently strong run in Smite 1, again, it was the very last season, I believe, of full competitive play and everything. So she released halfway through that year, where there was a 4-week or 6-week ban on competitive play and stuff. So she really didn't get much time to shine. But the little bits that she did, actually, Chel was pretty good. But overall, she was just fun. Just a very fun god to play as, and not the worst god to play against, right? Which is, again, one of the sort of benchmarks. But for some reason, Nickel, there is a. I believe it's a design. I don't believe this was a glitch. I believe this was a design choice from what I've read.
Okay.
But for some reason, two of her abilities were just really slow
Yeah. Oh yeah.
compared to Smite 1. Like, supposedly, like one of them was almost double. I think that is the
Oh
third
really?
ability.
Is it that bad?
Where it was like 1.5 seconds from cast time to hitting the ground, and it was like 3 seconds in Smite 2, and like that's a really long time. Honestly, like to be able to
Yeah.
lead your shots with that type of ability, it means you're only really going to be hitting that in like not random, right? But like you throw it into a team fight, or you just throw it out and your team fights around them, or someone is locking down a target within that area, right? You think of how much you have to lead like a Vulcan ult. That was the type of waiting you
Really?
had to do
Okay.
for this, right? Like not
Okay.
quite a max range Vulcan ult, but
Yeah,
like
yeah,
not
yeah.
the full one. Like again, at least Vulcan ult is huge. This is not. This is very small. Like you had to be quite precise with it to the point where it was more used for utility for like the couple of days where it was slow. Like you just kind of threw it out and like, all right, if we walk into it, you can get the positive movement speed buff from it, and it was easier to use it as a sort of defensive way like that rather than actually using it aggressively, and that was just really weird. But to be fair, to Titan Forge and the team, they did make a hotfix. I believe today it
Yeah,
actually
it
dropped.
came
I
out
haven't had a
today.
chance to
Yeah.
check today, but yeah, they actually sped up those two abilities, which is pretty cool to know that we can do that. This actually opens up some cool ideas for potential like a match of the day stuff, which I don't know if anyone's
Yeah.
aware of. That could be a possibility, but yeah, the fact they could just kind of do that. We knew it was possible to change these things, right? This has always been the case where they can change like the pre-fire, the post-fire, things like that.
Hmm.
But to be able to hot fix it in, that's pretty cool. I hope we see that utilized a bit more, not when it's like necessary like this, but for like maybe some balance changes in the future.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean that does bring a good idea. Like for some abilities, they might have perfect numbers. They might have perfect animation and whatever extra CC or whatever. But it might just be that it comes out too slow or too fast.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it makes sense that some of those can be adjusted. And like a hotfix like this, for those who don't know, hotfixes are not like a full patch. It's more like something they pump out a small update, very small batch of stuff. It won't bring down the servers, won't bring down the you playing in the game or anything like that. It's just something that you'll get like a little pop up, just like restart your game or something. And on
Yep.
Steam, it will pretty much just start automatically if you have that setup. So yeah, I think hot fixing for something like this is what hotfixes is made for, right? Like if something is completely broken or something is actually like breaks the game, you
Yep.
want to be able to remove that from the game as quickly as possible or change whatever needs changing. And like you said, I didn't play Chel that much in Smite 1. Like you said, the 2 and 3 was like I played a few rank games. People were just like screaming in the chat after every game saying like, okay, so I guess they added Oleron ult onto Isha because she was so slow with
It
her
was so
two. And
slow.
the thing is, the 3 sets up the combo, right? It sets up the full the
It's the two is the knockup. So the two
2,
is that
sorry, yeah,
circle that
the
does the
2
knockup, and
sets
the
up.
three. I think more people notice the third ability being slow because it's like got a huge
Yeah, it's an
arc. It's like
arc.
it
I
like
mean,
flies through the air, but the two was just so slow.
yeah,
Like it was painfully slow.
yeah,
Especially when it's used aggressively. It just doesn't work that way.
exactly. Yeah, like it's more noticeable for, I guess, for people who played her more. But I think anyone could see that was even if that was how Ishel was in Smite 1, it couldn't keep going because Smite 2 as an environment is kind of snappy right now. It's very burst heavy,
Yeah.
very fast. So I mean, just in general for most casual players, it's hard to hit because that's something a lot of people don't think about. Smite is very unique in its targeting system. Most games that
Yeah.
function like this in a 3D environment is just lines, like skill shots lines, or just you're shooting your crosshair and you just move your crosshair around. These like circle things that you move on the ground far from you or closer to you, like these targeting things are people that I've introduced to Smite said that this is like the hardest thing to get used to. And
Mhm.
both of these abilities on his shell is that. So if
Yeah.
those
Yep.
are, out of whack compared to the rest of the game, then for anyone trying or coming into the game or trying it again for the first time in a while will notice it immediately, and it just feels bad.
And I think I'm glad that they fixed it this way, because if Ishel's 2 and 3 abilities are that hard to hit, the numbers would have to be adjusted around that,
Mm.
right? But
Yeah.
then they'd be adjusted around the infrequency of them hitting. If someone then starts hitting them non-stop, well, all of a sudden Ishel's broken. We got to turn the numbers
Yeah.
down. But then it's like, if you can't even hit these abilities, and when you finally do, they still don't really do anything because of John Ishel, who could just sort of nail these shots all the time. Then yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a balancing issue, and it's like it was the wrong kind of skill ceiling, right? That's not really what you want. Is like things that are like hard to perform consistently. That's a bit of a skill ceiling, but things that are just hard to do ever,
Yeah.
like that's not the same thing. It felt functionally wrong. And now, like I said, eShell can be adjusted. I believe with the hotfix they just updated the speed and didn't change any of the numbers, right?
Yeah.
So
No, there was no
it just
number
seemed
change.
like they're like, okay, the numbers are fine. You just can't play her right now because she's so hard to hit with. So yeah, nice change, and I actually think this will be again. If we see this in future, I think it could be a really handy little tool to minorly balance things, particularly right after they come out.
Yeah. And like like you said, this Ishel felt very natural in Smite 2. Like they basically just ported her over completely exactly the same as in Smite 1 with a few plus one changes. But she, from what I heard from people playing her, she's just, feels nice. She feels like, because she was one of the latest releases, she already feels like, this like new generation gods compared
Yes,
to
yeah.
some of the older ones we had. So she slots into Smite 2 very nicely. I mean, what I think though is that most people are more excited about her aspect than her main form. That's kind of
Mhm.
the feeling I've been getting. But yeah, with just these few days that I've seen her, I played a lot of ranked these past few days, and I've seen her pretty much every game, either banned or picked. Not that much banned, but picked a few times. I haven't seen her performing that well. I don't know if she might need a few number bumps. Um, but we'll have to see, especially with her aspect coming, and they might
Yeah.
do something there. You have anything else on the Ishel, or do you want to tackle this like jungle practice video
I
thing?
could sort of move on because it does come into that.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, it was actually an eShell video that got me to bring up this topic. So, first of all, guys, I'd just like to say there is a community that some people might not be aware of, who I'm gonna start this proper, who I do respect. Okay, there is a community of people who love to play Smite via jungle practice, and I'm not saying they only play jungle practice, whatever. But what they love to do is head into jungle practice and like try to break the game,
Mm.
try to find a cool build, or I'm going to try this combo, I'm going to try that combo, I'm going to put this combination of items in with this god and everything, and that has existed even in Smite 1. And I know it was a pretty useful resource for like the QA team of
Yeah.
Hyras as well, where they could find things. Now, not everything in Smite 1 that happened in jungle practice was recreatable in live client, because they worked slightly differently there. But I believe in Smite 2 it is functional. Now, to be fair, again, to this community, if they do discover something in jungle practice, they're like, hey, that seems kind of broken. They'll then head into like a bot game to try it there. And if
Yep.
it works there, like, okay, right now we can try it in a live game. So there are like testing lines that some of these people have and everything, and it's good. It's good that people are sort of always trying the limits, always trying to find these combos. I remember sometimes a god comes out and someone's found something already in jungle practice that you
Yeah.
might not get to pull off in a live game, like while trying it. But then if you see the potential, it really opens things up. Very cool, like that stuff. However, I believe there is a new generation of this type of player who that has particularly come in Smite 2, because now Jungle Practice has a lot more customization, right?
Right.
You can
Right.
sort
Yeah.
of play around with what gods are there, what minion types are there, and all these types of things. And what keeps happening is they'll find something and explode over how broken it is. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
there are two videos in particular. I don't know if they're by the same poster. I apologize if this is you, because I do appreciate the fact that you do this stuff, but please don't freak out. But the two videos in particular, one of them is from PTS over the eShell aspect,
Yeah.
and another is, I believe, from the most recent patch, and it was about Sylvanas. So
Oh.
the first
Okay.
one is the eShell aspect, where basically they sort of manufactured a situation where two of their teammates were
Very
low
low.
health,
Yeah.
started low health. Then they've started to sort of activate the like just dump kit basically onto these two. Dump kit while they are still taking damage and show how basically it could heal them to full through any sort of damage that was going on via the ultimate and everything. They actually use two Kukulkan
Yeah.
bots. And yeah, just sort of line them up and sort of look how much this ult heals when it's in this situation. Okay. Good luck finding a situation where you're going to have two squishy targets right in front of you, perfectly lined up for all of these abilities. Which, by the way, this is on the slow E shell.
Yeah.
This is pre speed
So
increase E
they
shell.
must be not moving, just like
So
sitting
they
there
were standing
waiting.
completely still, taking this damage, and like if that's happening, right, you might pull this off once. But like there are just so many potential counters to this, right? There's just so many ways that this can go wrong, and even just by your teammate, right? If they don't both stand in it, then one of them dies. If one of them dies, all of a sudden all the damage gets focused onto the other one, right? So it's not just like it's not something that is sustainable. I think showing that as being the like sort of ceiling, like oh look how well this can perform. It's just so inaccurate, right? Like you can't be calling for nerfs. And which this post was, I believe, from the way I
Yeah.
interpreted it. It's like, oh, hey, this is crazy. This needs to be toned down. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Like definitely not yet. It might be. It might release really strong, right? But this is not the situation where it releases strong. You know, like I said, having a situation where two squishy gods line up perfectly and there's no CC coming in. There's no sort of, or even then, if they're not putting out a lot of damage in response because they have to stand still to make sure that
Yeah.
you sort of line up well, then they just die after the ult. You know, it's like this isn't a good baseline.
I mean, it's like
What would you think of that,
manufacturing.
Nicole?
Yeah, it's like manufacturing the perfect situation. Imagine a solo
Yeah,
ult that just happens to catch in a bird jungle practice. It catches, on 30% HP, 5 people. You're gonna be like, see, she
yeah,
can kill anyone anytime she wants, over and over and over. Or an Achilles that just gets infinite stack and executes. I think this is like a good way to get kind of the feel of gods, but not a good
hmm
way to test the number for gods,
hmm
like the numbers of their abilities, how much they heal, how much damage they do, because it's all situational. It doesn't function as it does in game. If something hits really hard, it does a lot of damage. It might be hard to hit. If
yeah,
hits hard, it might be hard to hit. But you standing there hitting a Ymir bot is not going to be the same situation as a Ymir running at you, or using his wall to jump at you. Making it harder to hit. You're under pressure. In the game is always way different.
yeah.
Um, and this Ishel, it's coming out tomorrow. The aspect. Today, if you're watching this on YouTube, we're currently streaming on twitch.tv/InstantQast if you would like to catch us live. So it's coming out tomorrow, and I would much rather
hmm
wait until it comes out, see how it functions in a real game, maybe test it out in different roles. Mostly support is where I would see this aspect going, but
For
maybe
sure,
it
yeah.
functions in solo. I don't know how much the lane clear will work for a god like this, because they're removing the damage, right, completely from her.
From some of the abilities, yeah. I
Yeah,
think it was the 2 and the 3. Was it both?
I thought it was one's the one that cycles, right?
Yes, yeah. The ones all the same.
Yeah,
Oh,
so I
that
think
removes all damage.
Yeah, I think all damage from one of them, and then when it cycles, you do damage on the other one, but you don't heal, or
Right,
you
yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah,
do
yeah.
whatever other thing it does. And I would just, anytime you see these type of videos, we're gonna get to the Sylvanas video, but anytime you see these kind of videos, please just give it give it a chance in game first, or try to have a critical eye to it, because like this one video, people went crazy seeing how she can fully heal someone in like 3 abilities and giving them a massive shield. One of the abilities being her ult, and like in a perfect line. I don't know. People were going crazy saying that this can't reach live. And guys, sometimes things might be broken, and sometimes they might be broken on the PTS, and you can see it in the game. And you
Mhm.
should voice your concerns, but if you just see it in jungle practice, you haven't actually seen how it goes against real players. Might even, some PTS games might even be players trying their hardest to win, right? So they won't act as they would in a real game. Well,
Yeah.
I would this is okay. This might be a hot take, but I would rather
Oh,
see
here we go.
a character too good when they get released than too bad. I would say.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's generally like people find it frustrating but at least you then see the god, right? If
Yeah.
the god just doesn't get played, what's the point? It doesn't feel like a fresh update. I think we've had that a couple of times as well.
I
I
remember the
think,
Cabrakan release in season 2. It was like the worst
yeah,
character release of all time.
yeah, I remember that. Like we've seen it enough. I think Race to Radiant sort of helps this, in that people
Oh,
will
right,
play
yeah.
the god even if it's bad. I think Cook Cullen might have suffered that fate
True.
if they if it because Cook Cullen was pretty bad.
He had a
In
less
the
than
Smite team release.
30% win streak. Oh, no,
Yeah,
win rate. I mean,
and that's outrageous.
yeah, that's a hell
For
of a
anyone
lot.
who doesn't know the numbers and how they don't usually look, that is abysmally low. So much that you can't stand up for it. So yeah, I think when a god is, I don't know, nobody wants them to be OP. I remember Bologna release back in the day almost made me quit the game.
Yeah,
Hated that god. Nemesis
that was
release was
horrible.
particularly bad. There have been bad releases and they are frustrating. Particularly if you're not really a ranked player, which
Yeah,
I am a bit more now, but back in the day I did not. I only pretty much played casual, and yeah, if there's an outrageous god that you cannot ban, you
yeah,
just have to hope
exactly.
they're not on the other team. Then yeah, it is quite frustrating.
That is something to really
Um,
keep in mind, especially for
yeah,
those ranked grinders out there listening to this. For casual players, anytime something is broken, they just have to take it. They just have
yeah,
to.
every game,
Yeah,
right? Like all the time. And yeah, I think the majority, at least my perception of people who would post on Reddit and stuff, will be these people who are not sort of the ranked fiends.
yeah,
People who do tend to be a bit more the more casual player, or at least casual in the sense that they don't sort of grind the game hardcore, but they are really interested in the game, right? Really want to know everything about it. And yeah, that's why we see these posts come through. And again, I believe it is in sort of like out of concern, right? Like, or at least a sort of showcase of like, hey, you should play this god because it can do this stuff. Particularly if the god is weak, I think that's a cool way to see something. But I would never call for nerfs just based on jungle practice, which brings me to video number 2, which I thought
Sylvanas.
was even more outrageous for this.
Okay.
It was the Sylvanas build. Using the new echo items, which we
Hmm.
got to discuss last week, and what you'd potentially do with those echo items. And yeah, in general, you want to build like all of them, kind of like as many of them
As
as you can
much as
build. You'll
possible.
sort
Yeah.
of, yeah, they'll sort of chain off each other, right? And that's generally how you would see a build like this work. So it was basically Sylvanas with like every echo item, and then I think it was like Spear of Deso and World Stone or something, some other like
Yeah.
cooldown damage item. And they walk into the middle of like 10 Umia bots or whatever it was, ult them, and then just spam like the wisps, and then the root, and then the wisps, and then the root because the cooldown's so low and they're chaining, and then they start dying, and Spear of Deso starts proccing, so then you get more
Okay.
pots, and and then you hit the 2 again, you hit 1 again. It's like, oh, look how busted these items are. So unsurprisingly, have not seen that Sylvanas build in live. Honestly, it sounds cool as hell, right? I'd love
Yeah.
a build like that where just the echo starts proccing, and then you just zoom in and your damage gets boosted, and the tentacles are shooting these lasers out. And like visually, it looked really cool and fun, but it's not realistic. It is not practical. You can't sort of put these things in. I've played around a little bit with the echo items. I don't really believe you can put them in your sort of mage builds right now. I don't think they're worth it. I think they are more for those sort of tanky hybridy type builds.
Okay.
So like you kind of need a bit of protection within your kit, like some like breastplate of valor, some cooldown Genji's guard and stuff that allows you to sort of stick in a fight enough to utilize your abilities multiple times. Then you get the echo procs, and then
Hmm.
again, that's how you want to do it. It's not the type of thing that just blows people up. Again, if you were playing a Sylvanas with this build, right, and the enemy team, as you've ulted into them, you blinked in, you ult, you wisp, 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 root, and they all just get blown up, do you know what happens for the rest of the game? Everything is going directly on your head, and there is nothing you can do about that. If
Yeah.
they've got a Thor, he is ulting you on cooldown. If they've got an Emir, you're getting walled off constantly. You would just become this target, and it is not your team's responsibility to save you from that, right?
Exactly.
That is
Yeah.
not how the game works. It's just, yeah, I think there is so much issue with it's misleading, and even if the person posting this doesn't believe this stuff, right? They don't believe, oh, I've found this cool build. Like, no, they're just experimenting and maybe want to show the video. That's fine. But if the attitude of the post, the tone of it is that this is nuts. And then, some guy brand new to Smite 2, still playing with action cam, boots up Smite Reddit, sees, wow, that's a cool Sylvanas build. It's a weird camera angle, but whatever, I'm going to give it a try. And yeah, they rock into their arena match and they build like 3 echo items and they're 0-12 after 10 minutes. It's like, they're going to get flamed to hell. It's not, again, if you're posting this stuff, do it with a consideration for who might be looking at it, and a sort of moderation in how extreme these things are. Because again, I've brought up 2 examples. These are not the only 2 examples. You go on the Smite Reddit, you can scroll through, and pretty much every patch, there's oh, look at this crazy new Kerneros build, and Kerneros hasn't been top tier like ever, right? And yet you can find a build on Reddit. Yeah, it gets some play. I think the jungle Kerneros is actually really strong, probably the strongest version of him, by the way. But even then, you see these videos online of this build that does 2,000 damage in like 3 autos, and it's like, yeah, but it's inconsistent, it's unreliable. It just doesn't happen in these real games, And I think you won't learn anything doing this stuff. Again, not this way. Cool combos, cool experimentation, particularly with active items and things like that. Absolutely, and see how much attack speed you can get, how much int can you get. Awesome. Don't call it broken if it's not in a real game, right? It just doesn't work that way.
I mean, this is more of a PSA to anyone watching those videos than the people posting it, because the people posting it, I understand you want to post it, get the crazy news out there or whatever. I understand why you would do that, but anyone watching, take it with a pinch of salt. It might not be as broken as it seems, because they have created a perfect situation for themselves and for the build or character that they've set up. Bobby posted a tweet. For those who don't know, Inbound's name is Bobby. I've just called him Bobby ever since he started streaming, and that was kind of what he goes by. Inbound is his name, or his nickname. What is it called? His
username, I guess.
Username,
like screen name,
username, whatever.
Persona.
Persona,
whatever to go by these days.
So yeah, Inbound Bobby, Twitch streamer, prominent figure in the Smite scene, was previously a pro player both in Xbox and on PC. I think he played in like the last 5 or 4 seasons of the Smite Pro League.
I believe he was around at the end. I think he was a caster for the final season.
Right. Yeah.
And I believe he was, and then I believe he became a caster midway through the season before that. But up until then, yeah, he was a player for a long time.
It was a Solar Scarab. That's all I remember from the franchising time of Smite esports. Anyway, he posted a tweet talking about some +1s in Smite. So, first of all, just to present you Inbound's point of view, he said, we should probably consider removing some of the +1s to Smite 2 characters. He listed Achilles' shield, Agni dash distance, Afro ult or her 3, RTO range auto damage, Cerberus melee stun, Cabrakan double 2, Horus' ult speed, Sobek 3 ult or passive, any of those, Susano's passive, or the Morgan ult. And I think there's probably way more that he had in mind. He just listed, the ones that he thought of first, and I think there's people out there who could think of maybe some other +1s that is, in their views, problematic. But anyway, what do you think, Judas? Is +1s, has it become more of a negative towards to the game than a positive?
So in my opinion, no. And one of the reasons we wanted to talk about this topic today is I actually want to I want to react to like each of these and sort of discuss my opinion of them or our opinions of them and how we feel about them in the game. But before that, I would sort of like to baseline my opinion of +1s. And Nicola, I think you're sort of on the same page with me on this. I personally feel that +1s have been great. It's been nice to sort of freshen up gods that we might have played thousands of times in Smite 1. I also think personally, my view of Smite is that the characters are gods. These gods should be powerful and they shouldn't feel limited. Yeah. And one thing I dislike currently about maybe the direction of Smite 2 and kind of how it's been for a while is that it seems like the items are almost more important than the god. And that's a disagreement for me. I believe the gods should be cool and strong, and then the items sort of add to that. right? They add to the god. The gods are, you know, the vessels of the player who are then enhanced by items. It shouldn't be the gods are the vessels for the items. So it's like, oh yeah, you
which
can
god
sort of,
can use the items the most?
yeah, which god
Instead
can use the
of
items the best? Exactly.
instead of what items can I build to make this god the best? Yeah.
Exactly. We've seen this a few times. There's been certain items that, like Eye of the Storm, at one point in one of its iterations, where the sort of vortex it had, it actually sapped your health, but it did tons of damage to the enemy, and it was just like you were playing Thor to use the vortex, like because you could hammer onto someone and then just vortex, and like they'd run away, and then you stun them, and you run up to them, so they're back in the vortex type thing. It's like that's not Thor. That was Eye of the Storm doing its thing, right? So. Yeah. I'm always hesitant when it's like removing stuff from gods. I almost feel like tone down numbers, sure, to balance, but the gods should be able to do lots of different things. Not that they should be able to do everything, but the things that they do, common theme over all 8 episodes of our podcast, is if the gods do something strong, they should always be able to do that. Even if, you know, other things have to suffer, their sort of uniqueness should be where they shine rather than anything to do with items or anything. And plus ones to me are boosts to that god just inherently. So without even looking at the list, trying to ignore it for a moment, I would say if someone asked me, should we remove some plus ones? I'd just say no. I wouldn't even consider it. Now we're going to consider it, but personally, I don't really want to. Yeah. Don't put that on me. I'd love that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think the biggest issue they've had with these plus ones is that some plus ones feel a lot more plus than the others.
Very true.
There's some characters out there that we discussed this before the podcast. We don't even know if they have a plus one or what it is, if they have one.
Yeah.
So I think some plus ones are way more impactful than others. I think people have kind of seen that as an issue because they feel like whatever was strong or however that character worked in Smite 1 is how they should work in Smite 2. And I don't think that's the case. I think that's exactly why they started adding these plus ones, is to give especially the older characters that were kind of outdated in their kit, you know, compared to the new 7 Bibles per passive or per ability that you have. So for these new even the Ra plus one, just the fact that this 2 now shoots through minions is just such a nice, or through gods or minions, such a nice just extra thing that makes this character feel more like a new generation god. So I think people were more stuck in oh, this is not how it functioned in Smite 1, so that's now problematic in Smite 2, but I think we need to look at these characters as they're Smite 2 characters. That is their Smite 2 equivalent. You should treat them as a separate thing. It needs to be exactly like Smite 1. It needs to have the exact same weaknesses. It needs to be worse against these exact gods. But then again, I can understand that some people feel like, oh, this was a thing, because we've talked about this a lot, where the gods need to have purpose, and they need to have identity, and they need to be strong in certain aspects and weak in others. And if the plus one, all it does is add a strength to one of their weaknesses, I can understand that feels problematic, because you're like, okay, so the one thing that made Ra bad is that his basic attacks didn't go through minions, and now it does. So I guess he's just the best character in the game. So I can understand that some people feel like that. But like Bobby is saying, we should consider removing. I would never want to remove any of the new plus ones. Or remove any of the aspects, as in not have it. I would change it for some of these aspects that are horrible. But I wouldn't remove it as in let's never have this back in the game, because I think the additions that they've been giving us have, for the most part, just been great additions. It's just made the character deeper, more fluent, easier to pilot. Yeah, I don't see the negatives that he's hinting towards here.
Yeah, and it's why I'd like to sort of go through them, sort of discuss. Again, we're not just going to be here like, oh, what's this guy talking about? Look, what was it? But like actually take it in, listen, and consider, right? Like why might this be the case? So I don't know. Should we just start heading off the list? And
Achilles' shield.
So immediately I read this, I'm like, what is that? And
it's the orange part of his health that you sometimes see, which is only physical damage. For those who don't know.
Okay, that's what I thought it might be.
If it's orange, it's only physical, and for Hecate, you might have seen she has a purple health part of her health bar. That's only magical. So if you are being hit by someone with magical damage, Achilles will keep his orange health or the orange shield all the way until he dies, because that is just ignored by magical damage.
Yeah.
So it only blocks physical, and it doesn't help him in any way if you're being attacked by magical. So yeah, what do you think
Isn't that
about?
just isn't that just like really good in that we have an inherent sort of base, right? Where again, we want carries to kill tanks, you want
Mhm.
tanks to kill mages, and you want mages to be able to kill squishies like carries.
Yep.
Um, but a god that upsets that, isn't that okay? Right? Where if playing standard head-on 5-on-5 smite isn't working for you, you bring Achilles in to change up the sort of rock paper scissors.
Yeah.
I know Achilles has been pretty strong for a while, and I think that's often where these sort of changes come
Right.
through. I don't believe it's just because of the shield. I don't know. I don't feel like I've ever lost
I
to an
don't think that's
Achilles
the
and gone,
issue.
"Oh
No.
man, if he only didn't have that physical shield."
That
Like,
darn shield.
yeah, like I'm sure it has made a difference. Especially again, I wasn't fully aware that that's what it did. I had a suspicion, but I wasn't 100% certain. But like, is that really the make or break for Achilles? And I think that's sort of where I'll stand throughout this list. Is this like a reason that a god might win a game ever? Right? Does this make that much of a difference? But
Yeah.
I can understand the Achilles shield thing. You know what could be cool is if you could change it somehow, like maybe in armor stance it's a shield against physical, in non-armored stance it's a shield against magical, something like that. Or if we had items in the game that were better at dealing with these types of shields, that might be something, because I don't believe it
Yeah.
exists
Like
other than erosion.
shield splitter. Didn't that?
Oh, is that still in the game?
Oh, did they remove shield splitter? They might have
I
removed
have
it.
no idea.
I
You
didn't
just
buy
gotta
it
use
when
it
it
for
was
extra
good.
damage.
Yeah.
No, when it was good, you just bought it. You'd pay like
Extra
Naja or
damage, yeah.
something, Sash, and it was
An
like a
extra
guaranteed 100 damage or something.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's still in the game.
I don't know if Sunder still has that where it like shreds through shields, because that was like the first Sunder that did that.
That's true, yeah.
But going back to like the rock paper scissors things, I think characters like Bellona and now Achilles that are like clearly I am anti this guy or this archetype of character gives the character such an identity, and it makes you know before you're loading into the game, okay, my job this game, because my character functions like this, will be to target that guy. It makes it easier. It gives your character an identity, and it gives you a guide to what you're supposed to do in the game. I think that's just like a great, more fun way to play the game. Makes it easier for new players to understand what's going on. You said like it upset or it disrupts the rock paper scissors. I think yes, but it's the exception that proves the rule. It should be that you have this counter that if the enemy picks 3 hunters, we have to do something about this, right? We can't. Yeah, we got to do something about this. So Bellona, Achilles, these kind of characters that shuts that down. That's what they're there for. And then if they don't have any hunters, then you get fucked as the Achilles or Bellona, then you're not as useful. So that's the give and take, and that's what we've been talking about so much on the podcast before. So I think Achilles shield, I don't see it. I don't understand how, if anything, why would that be the change we do on Achilles?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely think it's inconsequential at best. Maybe, and maybe this, I know Inbound plays a lot more solo lane than me, so maybe this is something they've witnessed now. There is a world where, let's say you got solo lane of 2 physical gods, and there's like a sort of poke battle. Achilles is just gaining value off of that, right? If he's trading shield for actual health, then that's inherently like good for them. Um, is Achilles that much of a lane bully though? And we still have like plenty of other strong magical solo laners, right? Like again, it's if we talk from a competitive standpoint rather than just even ranked, right? Even in a ranked setting, right? Like if you struggle so much into Achilles, you should be able to ban it, and you can, right? You have total free will to ban Achilles if it is your genuine counter to what you like to play. But even then, it's like at these top level stuff, it should be that these things exist. Like, again, like you said, to sort of counteract the basic rock paper scissors. Fair enough. Sometimes if you're in just a blind pick casual, but the game shouldn't be balanced around blind pick casual unless it's inherently broken, as we've discussed. But Achilles Shield is definitely not that. I've definitely lost games to Achilles, like specifically Achilles. I seriously doubt I've lost games specifically to Achilles plus one, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna say I guess we'll have a little scorecard for this one. I'm gonna say no, Achilles Shield. I'd like it to stay. Right, so... I hate Achilles. I don't like to play Achilles, and I hate to play against it. I don't believe they should lose this shield.
Yeah. All right, 1 for keep, 0 for lose. Agni dash distance. I don't remember.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact numbers on this. I think I remember something about the dash distance. I don't see the dash distance as much of a problem. I think as a jungler, I obviously am usually the one that chases down the Agnis and such. And I feel like any leap, jump, or dash from a jungler kind of catches up anyway. So I've never felt like, whoa, he just dashed throughout the whole lane. You know, I've never felt that. So I didn't even know this was...
it's definitely longer, right? I'm thinking back and it does cover more distance, but it almost feels necessary because the game, like we said earlier, the game is a bit faster.
Yeah.
There is generally a bit more mobility in the game, and ultimately, I can visualize it being a bit further than I remember in Smite 1, but I don't think the counters to it change at all, right?
Yeah,
like if you're Susano and you hit your wind siphon, or is it wind siphon? No, the other one, whatever that's called, the one that you can teleport to him in.
Yeah.
If you hit that on him and he dashes miles or he doesn't dash at all, you're still there, right? So the counter there's the same. Even other gods like I think Thor doesn't have an issue chasing down an Agni still. I'm trying to see who this really impact other than Agni himself. Agni's strong again right now, I think is the case. And is it because this dash distance is increased? Probably, actually, but
that's more safe, yeah.
Makes him more safe, but that's probably the only thing keeping him viable, right? If you reduce this dash distance, does Agni now go in the toilet? We don't really want that, right? You don't want gods that are unplayable. You want gods that are strong in situations and not strong in other ones. Again, Agni is very good right now, and I think has been for a couple of months. But surely this is just a case of maybe toning down numbers a little bit rather than reducing the dash distance. Because again, it just feels natural. Again, I don't remember a time seeing Agni dash and go, wow, that was far. Now I'm screwed because he's just dashed away. I feel like Agni kind of did that anyway. So I'm not feeling this change either.
I also think if you're ever changing something about a god, changing the escape tool is probably not the first place to look. If you were to change something. Unless the escape tool is the Charybdis 3, which can get the fuck out of this game. I know you're a Charybdis lover, but I hate that character so much. Okay, well, we're not going to talk about Charybdis today. Afro, ult, or her 3. Do you know what the +1s are here?
Yes, so with your ultimate, at least I'm going to guess on the 3, I think I know where it is. When you use your ultimate, you can hit it again so that you teleport to your link target, and also you gain a completely refreshed cooldown of your third ability, the Lovebirds. I believe that's what this is. I don't think there's any other change to the 3. Now, I know there is a technical combo with the Aphrodite 3 in that you could you could also use, is it called the Heartwood Charm? Where you basically get 2 casts.
The item.
Yeah, the Heartwood Charm, the item. So you could basically Lovebirds, ult, Lovebirds, and that's all completely non-cooldown. And then you have a 20% cooldown on your healing abilities after that. I guess that's a lot, but that's Aphrodite, right? That's what she's supposed to do. Now, I think that is what has made her viable in mid lane recently as well, is that you could stun someone, Lovebirds, ult, Lovebirds. But that's kind of cool. Imagine, again, using your escape tool aggressively to kill someone. That's what we want, That's like you want to have to make them make that commitment, right? If Aphrodite was strong enough that she didn't have to ult to kill you, then that's a problem, right? That's a problem character. But then if she has to commit the ultimate, which is generally better for safety, but you can utilize it this way, I think that's good. I think I do think the use of the ult to escape, particularly when you're a damage-based Aphrodite, is pretty strong, especially coordinated, right? Let's say you're playing with a Thor or someone who can get a large distance away. because I don't believe the link breaks at distance. I think it breaks at time outside of the distance, right?
Yeah. So
Like you could,
if you breathe and then come back together within like 2-3 seconds, I think it doesn't break. If you like go far away
yes.
and then come
So
back.
you could theoretically have someone who could teleport across the map via God Kit, right? You couldn't back to base and do this, but they
Yeah,
could
no.
teleport quite far, and then you ult over to them. Like, yes, maybe, but like that also exists in the game in other ways,
I
right?
think
Like you have things.
any blinks or stuff like that out of range kind of severs it right away.
Yeah. So they like blink back, but I believe if someone had like a big jump, for example,
Yeah, big jump works.
talking, yeah, something like if Fafnir got back in the game has an exceptionally long jump,
Yeah.
right? I don't believe that breaks the link, and yeah, you could then just fly over to the Fafnir. Again, that's strong, but this is what we want. We want gods that have specific strength. If that Aphrodite's on her own, she's not doing anything with that, right? That +1 is not there. I again, I'm not seeing why this needs to go. I do think this makes Aphrodite again. It's one of the reasons why she's strong, but I don't really think it's a problem. I think this is one of the things that probably makes Aphrodite viable. She's been good. I think Aphrodite had one of the strongest showings at the final worlds for Smite 1.
Yeah.
So like it's not like Aphra's a bad god, but these +1s don't it doesn't feel like it tips her over the edge. It doesn't feel like it makes her ridiculous.
Yeah.
3 for 3 on the keep, in my opinion.
Pink Unicorn in the chat also mentioned that her Lovebirds, the 3, is now also faster in Smite 2. Something
Definitely
to keep
flies
in mind.
faster. Yeah.
I think what most people would have a problem with Afro is more that it's frustrating to play against this. You know, I'm gonna burst you down, and then suddenly you're just like, boop, and then you're healing up all of everything that's happened. But that's what we have anti-heal for. If you see an Afro on the enemy team, pick an Odin maybe in a ranked game. You know, something that will shut down that healing. But yeah, I mean, I think we're 3 for 3 right now on keep, if anything.
The next one though is
RTO ranged auto damage. This sounds so weird to me. What?
Yes. So I don't actually know the +1 behind this. I think I know what it is.
Okay.
And this is just from personal experience. I have actually played plenty of RTO. Newsflash, guys, I don't read the god every time I play them in Smite 2. It's RTO. It does basically the same thing. I haven't
We're not
checked.
Smite encyclopedias, okay?
Exactly. I'm like, right, what's the +1? I need to know. Like, no, I'm just like, oh, RTO's in the game. I'm going to play RTO as I think it is. Anyway, I believe when you switch back to Druid form as RTO, obviously from Bear into Druid form, I believe you have an enhanced ranged auto attack. Because at one point there was a build in solo lane where you basically went Bumba's Hammer with RTO, and you just switch Bumba's Hammer proc, then you switch to Bear form, swipe down the wave, Bumba's Hammer proc again with the ranged auto. And that was pretty nuts. It was pretty oppressive to play against, let me tell you. This is a scrim, by the way, which I didn't know this build was coming in. And I got destroyed by this. It was really horrible to play against. Is that the reason RTO is good? Absolutely not. I didn't even know about this, and I've had a lot of success with RTO. I think it has some applications in support role, particularly in dual lane, where sustain can be quite important. Obviously, RTO having healing in her kit means that being able to do that little bit of extra damage, like sort of chip damage, right? It's not burst damage; it's just that extra chunk of burst damage. But that extra chunk of damage, and then you have a heal on your side. It's sort of like it's similar to Achilles, right? Where it means you're trading favorably quite regularly.
Yeah.
Is RTO even that good right now, Lucy?
I don't think
is
so.
it even again? I can't see why. Removing that +1 is better. Changing maybe, right? Maybe you could have some world where you want to sort of change this, particularly again, you don't want it to be like sort of it's basically Hunbat's passive, right? That sort of enhanced basic attack, which is what Hydra does, but only on one stat. Again, unless there's something else that I'm not aware of. That's what I believe in here. I was thinking I wouldn't miss this +1, right? Because it
it
is kind of whatever
that much, yeah.
But I don't understand the purpose of removing it rather than changing it. Maybe this is a wording thing. It's just a tweet, right? It's not like you're like, all right, get the glasses out. Like, right, let me script the perfect tweet. Maybe Inbowned would consider just changing these rather than outright removing them. But again, outright remove, I don't really see why. I don't know why it's there in the first place. To be honest, it's nice, but it's kind of whatever. It
Maybe
doesn't
he
really
wanted to
fit.
pad his list. Who knows?
Yeah. Maybe,
We'll have
that was
to,
just something on there that's kind of pointless. But I
yeah,
mean,
we'll have
Nick,
to try
have
to
you ever
get
actually experienced this? Did you have any idea that this
I
was in the game?
I've never had, like, I've obviously experienced it, never thought about it much. It was just like,
Yeah.
oh, that's. It's not like, whoa, she's just hacking me with a basic attack that does millions of that. No, I don't think I've ever seen a build that's focused on that anyway. Like, you've seen these like raw builds that are focused on his new 2.
Yeah.
But you never see an RTO build focused around her. I mean, other than this Bumbus thing that you've seen,
Which was
I
like
haven't even
one
seen that.
patch, by the way. It was like, well, it was when Bumbusab was really good.
Yeah.
But I guess people worked out that Artio procs it really well. So yeah, that's just players utilizing the patch as it is. And then that build went away, and then so did Artio. You don't see this card very much.
Yeah. The Cerberus melee stun. I think this I could see be removed just because it removes skill expression. Because
Is this what I think it is, where the stun procs at melee range?
So when you shoot your 3, when you activate everything, all his heads, and then you shoot your 1, your 3 heads. If you're standing melee range, you can make them all hit, and you get the stun off. Versus what usually in Smite 1, what was like the main point of Cerberus with this ability was that you need to adjust your range from the enemy to make sure you get the stun when you hit all 3. And that was kind of the skill expression you had there, where you had to be close enough that you hit it, far enough that you hit all 3, so you get the stun. And I think just making that a melee thing, or something you can do in melee, makes it so the skill expression's not there, and it makes him more just like, okay, let me jump on you, stun you, and then just 2 you, instead of having this like weakness of, I have to wait to stun you until you start running away, or I have to stun you first, then go in and do all my things, instead of having it all happen at the same time.
See, to me, this isn't even the Cerberus +1. I think you could do that in Smite 1, but it wasn't consistent, right? I think the whole point was the target that has like a point at the end where it's like, hey, if you hit them here, they are getting stunned. But there was a sort of inconsistent mid-range where you can still get the stun. Whereas now it is hard-coded into the game of, hey, if they're melee range and you shoot it, it will stun.
Yeah.
It's a reduced stun. I believe it's like half a second compared to like 2 seconds at max range. I think it's like a sort of scaling stun. I remember this being changed to Cerberus. That's not the Cerberus +1s, though, to me. I've actually played a lot of Cerberus. I'm a big Cerberus enjoyer. The Cerberus +1s I think of is, you can actually use the breath during your ultimate. Yep. So you could lift someone and currently start breathing on them. But also you can carry them when you jump now. So, like, that's the +1. Yeah. This sort of Cerberus consistent stun thing, I think, is... Again, I'm going to disagree with removing this, only because it is a difference in skill expression. That is definitely true, that having something that is now will proc at close range rather than only at specific ranges is a lower skill ceiling. But didn't Cerberus kind of suck for the entirety of Smite 1? Like, it wasn't this just a bad god, is my understanding.
It was more of a solo laner for sure. I think this was part of it, the reason why.
I would say having a god drop some of its inconsistency, and it's scaled. Like I said, it is a reduced stun. I don't think it's reduced damage. The sound is a lot cooler if you hit them at max range, which to me is just a reason to hit them at max range. But like my experience of Cerberus in Smite 1 was that if you wanted to be cool and feel like you're having a good time, you maxed the spit and just hit that at max range and got huge damage stuns. If you wanted to win, you maxed the 2 because you didn't care about if you got the stun or not. You just wanted to make sure you got the slow, you got the prot shred and everything. And you made the god consistent by just ignoring an aspect of them. Whereas now you can increase the consistency of having that stun. And again, I thought I was going to be on board with taking this out as we're talking about it, man. I don't know why. Again, is this game breaking? Is this the reason you lost a game? Because Cerberus had a melee range stun. You know, like, I just don't feel like, again, To be fair to Bobby, we're going hard on the removing wording here.
Yeah, so we don't know why he wants to remove this. It might be the same reason
Yes.
why I said, where it's the skill expression might not be because he thinks it's broken or in any way ruining the game.
Yes. Yeah, and also we're talking about removing rather than changing. It might be that he would advise to change this, but yeah,
Sure.
I don't see a reason to remove this. I think Cerberus having some consistency has made this. God's been relatively strong throughout Smite 2. Again, I think they're strong right now. I don't think it's just because of the melee stun. I think there is so much more. Again, Aegis is not. Aegis is something you want to build on most gods. You don't really want beads. That's one of the reasons Cerberus is strong. It forces you to buy beads in a situation where it might not, or you don't buy beads and then you get picked up by Cerberus a lot. It's like that choice you have to make, which I have said a lot. I love that you have to make a choice into this god, and if people would stop playing it because they don't have this melee stun, that would be bad. So another one for the keep column for me. I'm really hoping I can find something I agree with here, but yeah, it's not looking good.
Yeah, so it's a maybe from me and a definite no from Judas. So that makes us 0 for 5. Cabrakan double 2. This I can understand where it's coming from, because this just seems like, let's give him an extra 2 just for fun, just to make him, because we designed the 2 to be so bad, instead of just increasing the number so much, let's give him an extra 1.
Maybe. It counts as its own ability, right? And I think this might be where some of the problems come from. So that means that it procs Bluestone, it procs Glad Shield, things like that. It does proc out all these things again. However, we've already joked today, this podcast, about how bad Cabrakan was at one point.
Yeah.
If he didn't have this double 2, would he be that bad again? Maybe, honestly. I do think that double 2 is keeping Cabrakan in the conversation. Obviously, it's not just the fact that there's another ability, right? It's the fact that, because this one doesn't stun, but it still will proc item effects, and it will proc the healing, I believe. I'm pretty sure
the
it
healing,
also.
that is what most people are saying is the biggest issue about Cabrakan, is his healing.
Is that like you get a double dip of the healing coming through from it. Look, man, I just think the god would suck without it. If this god isn't a lane bully and doesn't have good sustain, you just kill him. Again, it's frustrating in this, but I feel like Cabrakan is really strong in lane. When you get to the late game stages, if you're not, if you're unprepared for the walls, it can be important, but his damage falls off. His sustain will fall off. If you can ignore a god like this, then he's kind of not doing his job. I think he almost needs this. This is one that I know you're talking about, where it's almost like a power creep, right? Where it feels like Cabrakan got a whole extra ability and other gods get like nothing.
Extra ability and extra stun, like easier rockable stun.
Yes, because you don't have to use the stun, right? Like you can use the 2 and then use it again if you haven't stunned the first time or something. Is that right? Yeah. So, and I think, and this is a genuine argument for removing. Here we go. I'm getting there. There is a mind game aspect of, he's used his first stun and then he's used the sort of clap stun, the second ability. You don't know if you haven't been hit by that and you haven't been stunned by it, you don't know for a fact if that stun is ready to proc, right? So there is this sort of mind game disparity where they've effectively revealed information to you by using that second ability, but you haven't gotten maybe a fair full picture. I could see this being changed. I really can't see myself agreeing to removing the double 2 though, man. Like. Again, I feel like a change, maybe it doesn't heal, maybe it doesn't proc item effects, right? It's just a secondary use of the same ability. Like we have that sort of, think like Susano, where you can use the first swipe of the Stormcarter, and if you just didn't use the rest of it, you don't gain anything back, right? It's just the same ability. Maybe something like that, but I don't want it removed, man. Like, I don't want to take stuff off of gods. I think I'm pretty locked in on this, and I just can't. This is probably the biggest one, the biggest point of contention with Cabrakan. But again, if you took it away, does Cabrakan get removed from the game? Probably.
I mean, that's the problem, right? I think it would be if you remove him, you got to rework him.
Yeah,
that's my mine. And I just
want to be good.
Yeah.
is from the aspect Cabrakan where he sort of jumps to place the wall. If you just put that on base Cabrakan, this god's nuts. Remove the
You
double
want the
two.
low-key fucking ult?
Yeah. I
Ult
think
ult?
that could be that would have been a really nice +1 because all of a sudden then the god does tons of different things.
Yeah.
And again, I wouldn't want the double two then. Then I would think he's kind of over the top. But yeah, I think could that be a switch around? You remove the double two and give him this sort of jumping ult. It makes him so much safer. You
Yeah.
don't need as much sustain now. It's like I think that will be a lot better of a +1. Maybe it's too late to make that sort of switch, but I could definitely see that being more interesting at least than the double two because it's definitely a boring +1 to be sure. So this is my closest one, but I'm still saying
Still
you
a
got to
no,
keep
yeah.
you got to keep it, or
Gotta keep
otherwise
it.
you lose the god.
Horus ult speed. Now this is something we already had in Smite 1. If for those who don't remember, his ult speed was very fast in Smite 1, then they nerfed it. And then in Smite 2 they added some of it back. His ult speed is a little faster than what it was in Smite 1, as in when he flies. Him flying is a little faster. Unless he means the ult delay. No, it can't be. It can't be. It would have worded that differently. The delay
Yeah, I
on
think so.
when other people land. So I think right now, from what I've seen with Horus, he is in a very perfect state when it comes. Like his ult isn't so slow that you could never use it offensively to gank someone, and it's not too fast so that you can go from Gold Fury to Fire Giant within a split second. So
I don't believe I've played Horus in Smite 2 yet, so I don't know the feeling of the speed. But I just don't. Again, I can't see this being an issue unless it can scale. Does it scale off of movement speed? That'd be pretty cool. I don't think it should.
I don't think it does. Pinky
Um,
also
yeah,
mentioned in the chat that Smite 2 it has 15 seconds less or longer cooldown and 80 less damage on rank 5.
Yeah, so it's faster because they want it to be a utility ability, right?
Yeah.
It is not meant to be Horus Jungle lands on you like Thor and just kills you. He still does do that, but that's not what he's supposed to do. But I don't think the speed is that really a +1, right? Like I don't see.
Well,
I couldn't tell
they
you what
marketed
Horus
it
+1
as
is.
a +1.
Really, that he got
Yeah.
his speed back as a +1? That can't be
Yeah.
right.
It
Like
was
you
speed
can
back
play
and
around with this.
delayed people come join. Yeah. I think that was
Yes,
the
yeah.
term.
The delay is interesting. It feels more like a nerf so far, but at the very highest level, the way Horror Assault became, so for anyone who wasn't watching towards late stage Smite 1 esports, the way you would use Horror Assault at the end is you would stick a sentry ward down and have your whole team stand in it, and then you would Horror Assault like to either left Phoenix or right Phoenix, and then based on the reaction of the enemy, that would decide if your team stepped in or stepped out. Um, so you might lift your Horus up, fly him over to left Phoenix, and then when the whole enemy team rotate, they're all going over to left Phoenix. You then have just the Horus teleport, and the rest of the team walk in and take the Phoenix. Now with the Horus ult being this sort of delay, you can do that better, but engaging with a full 5 like on top of like behind a Phoenix, for example, right, like trying to break behind enemy lines, that's a lot riskier because now your Horus goes in one on his own, could potentially take a ton of damage before anyone even steps through. um is that good? I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I haven't seen it utilized in that sort of mind gamey way yet, which is what this change sort of does. Whereas the just full 5 all on one person at 1 second, that's kind of just the way it was traditionally used. So I'm surprised at that change, but I don't know why the speed is the +1. like I think that's just surely this is just a balancing mechanism, right? Like who knows? Like one day we might increase it, one day we might decrease it, right? I don't feel like this is the +1. Again, and I wouldn't remove it. Like what do you remove his ult speed? Do you mean it doesn't move? That would be kind of bad, right? Like I don't know. I'm not seeing the vision on this one. This seems like another list padding going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But for me, keep it because why? I don't get this one, unfortunately.
0 for 7. Sobek 3 ult or passive. So I don't remember all of these +1s. I think obviously the ult is execute. The
Yes.
3 is that the anti-heal or the...
No, the anti-heal was always there. It now does like
Okay.
a damage over time
Oh, okay.
effect.
Yeah. Right. And then the passive
The
is it
passive is, I believe, you. So it's the Sobek passive is that when you hit something with a melee attack, you
get
gain.
protections.
Well, this is well. So it used to be you hit something with a melee attack, you gain protections. Now I believe it is you hit something at all, you gain protections and cooldown, and then with the new
Mm,
aspect, you gain attack damage as well.
true. True.
So I believe that is just hitting at all, you just gain protections. It might have worked that way in Smite 1, but I was only consciously aware of it with auto attacking.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I'm assuming that's the +1, +1, and +1 for Sobek.
I think
I
Sobek right now is very strong in the meta, but
Yes, super strong.
he kind of feels like more of a complete character to me now than
Mm.
what he did in the past. I think the execute on his ult just makes the... Because before he always had this, kill potential with his ultimate,
Mm-hmm.
but you didn't know when you could ult and actually kill someone. And
Yes,
now you're, for yourself as the Sobek and for anyone standing inside it, know exactly when I need to be worried about this. And I
yes,
think
yeah,
it creates a more fluent, engagement than, or ability than what it was before.
yeah. I wasn't too keen on the Sobek Execute when it first released because I think personally I would prefer it just did a bunch of damage. But like you say, this sort of scaling damage, so obviously it's an ultimate
Yeah.
with a duration, but the amount of damage it did would tick up over time. And there is nobody in the world who's doing these calculations correctly. I played a lot of Sobek in Smite 1. I for sure got plenty of kills with this ultimate via, oh, I've charged it up enough, I'm going to pop it on a squishy and they die. Um, did I ever know for a fact? Probably not. Maybe if I waited full duration when someone's like 10% HP, yeah. But it was very hard to know exactly how much damage it did. And like you say, now it's got an indicator.
Yeah.
And maybe like a bit more of an indicator, like something charging up. So it's like more visible, like, oh, you're going to drop into range. Because I couldn't even tell you what the exact percentage is. And
I
then trying to calculate where you are and your health percentage is a bit tough.
Yeah, I think that just makes it too easy for the outplay of the person being executed, because then you can see
Probably
like,
so. Yeah.
okay, I see it ticking and ticking, and it's about to hit. Now I'll dash out or jump out or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think it can't have that for it to be fair for the Solbeck as
yeah.
well. But he's 3 in passive. What do you think about this? I haven't really felt it.
I think it is probably one of the reasons that he's so strong at the moment. The 3 ticking over time is irrelevant, other than the fact that it keeps the anti-heal applied on you for a little bit longer, I believe.
Okay.
But that's kind of what the ability is for. It's a called Sickening
Yeah.
Strike. It's meant to do that. It's got the heal in it. It's a pretty loaded ability, funnily enough. So did it really need the damage over time? Maybe not, but it's a bit cooler, rather than just the one hit.
Yeah.
The passive adding cooldown is pretty good, but I don't remember Sobex ever really popping off by having the cooldown usage multiple times in a fight, right?
No.
That's where cooldown comes into its own. It's not that you can use your 4 abilities, it's how quickly you can use them again, right? Like when you can use them next in a given team fight. And the Sobek really, like, how many times do you get plucked twice by Sobek in a fight? Cannot be many, because by the time the pluck is back off cooldown, they're probably their ultimate, right? It's
Yeah.
not something I'm seeing as being an issue. It does make Sobek strong, right? And again, a theme throughout this list is a lot of these gods are just very strong right now. I would be so against removing a +1 permanently because the god was good
Yeah,
right
I
now.
think it's important to distinguish between let's remove a +1 versus let's balance a +1 or
Yeah.
balance the god. We like removing stuff to balance a god, I think is worse than just tweaking numbers or
Yeah.
um adding something. Yeah, I think that's a no for me on the
Yeah.
Sobek
Yeah. Yeah.
removal. Susano passive, I hold Susano's my dear, and I hold him very dear to my heart. He's my favorite character in the whole game.
hmm
So please don't ever do anything to make him worse.
I
That's all I'm
I'm
saying.
actually relying on you here for this. I have no idea what is the Susano passive
Have you
+1.
ever seen on yourself or while playing Susano the circles with different colors popping up on his on like next to the bar?
Oh, the sort of passive effects.
Well, right, Susano Smite passive. Let me see if I can
I honestly
get it
have
up real
no
quick.
idea what this is. I've played a little bit of
Just to
Susanoo,
show
particularly
you
on
a
Smite 2
picture
like
of it.
release. Yeah, I need to see this because I am totally lost on does anyone know? Like again, it's like
So
is this something that generally is known?
it's basically new effects that happens to the gods that you hit in between your one, or it's in between any ability really, and not just in
Okay.
between your one. Now that I think about it, I hope this doesn't play noise. Okay, so I'm spending way too long on this, but anyway, imagine. Okay, I'm just looking through a. Okay, here we go. I'll just take a quick picture for you and send it to you on Discord here.
All right.
For those who haven't seen this, it's do you see those three like circles below?
What is that?
So they fill up with different colors. Maybe it's just the Susano sees it. I don't remember if you see it as the person being hit. But anyway, what they do is they fill up one by one for each basic you hit in between an ability. And it basically teaches the player that if I basic attack in between my abilities, as in AA cancel, the enemy something will happen to him that is bad for them. So one of them is a slow, one of them is penetration, and last one I don't remember. So either way, it's like a protection shred or something was not penetration, but it's like protection shred, and I don't remember the last one. But it's is to me it just is great for a variety of reasons. Mainly that it teaches and rewards you for playing the character in a more high skill, more skill expression way.
Yeah,
that is pretty much it.
I cannot understand wanting to remove that, especially because, like you say, Susano does that anyway. Having a +1 that sort of accentuates this is great because do you know what also accentuates this? Like Hydra's Lament. Surely a god having it as a passive is better than them having it on an item because they're going to do this anyway.
Right.
Again, it's my sort of general feeling. Like I'll actually touch on this a little bit later with something. But imagine if you couldn't build items in Smite. Like it would be nice that Susano still has these effects going on. You know, I feel like gods should have their things. I don't know why you don't remove this. It just seems to be again. It's not what tips Susano over the edge. Susano will do this anyway. If he didn't have this effect, then he'd have to have Bumba's hammer be stronger for it to be like effective. So I cannot see a world where this should be removed. Again, change it, balance it, whatever. But I don't think it should be removed.
No, I think just if it were removed, it's the kind of thing that is just for balancing reasons. And I think if that's the case, why not change the numbers instead of the actual like maybe it feels too oppressive for some people. To me, it never felt that way. But then again, I like to play him, so. But even playing against him, I've never felt like it's just super hard of a like negative effect on you. It's just like an additional thing to get if, and again, it's only if you play it correctly or do it correctly. Like getting the Susano basic attack in between your abilities is essential if you want to play him at a high level, but it doesn't make or break the character. And this passive again doesn't make or break the character. So that's a no for me.
Yep.
The Morgan ult.
Not looking good.
Actives and relics. So
do you know? I just read this.
Okay.
And I think finally, Nickel, we have one that I am on board with removing.
Ooh.
Because ever since Morrigan ult got added to this, to Smite 2, and had this sort of relic activation, I have not understood why it is allowed. Now, does this affect your decision making, right? If you're playing Morrigan and you want to transform into an enemy Hunbats, if the Hunbats has Blink, it's a lot easier to get an engage in and get an ult off. And that's absolutely great. But why should you have access to the Blink if you are transforming into the god? Now, I know you get the items as well, right? You get the builds that come through, and technically the relics are part of that. But surely, to reel this character in, there has to be some way that they are doing that god worse. I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent and do a little bit of a side note here. There is a thing in pro wrestling, right, where wrestlers have their own moves, right, and then they've got that big move. You think John Cena with the attitude adjustment, right? He does that thing. It's literally just throwing you on your back. Exactly, right? Like these things exist. Wrestlers have their moves. Do you know what's a cool thing wrestlers do sometimes? They have the other guy use their best move against them. Whoa, crazy, right? Craziness.
Okay, yeah.
And the rule is generally that you don't lose to your own move. Why? Because you do it better than anyone else. Why can the Morrigan transform into someone else and be as good as them? And if the player is better than them? I don't think that's how it should work. I think there should be, at the very least, a small decrease in quality because of the god that you are transforming into. The Morrigan has been this type of god that is, by the way, competitively banned for the entirety of a Smite 2 life cycle, because it just cannot prevent breaking the game potentially. But even if this was available in a competitive setting, it's so strong to just be able to do this. Like, you can pick an enemy god or a teammate god, right? Traditionally, in other games where we see this type of mechanic, it's like only an enemy, right? You think Echo from Overwatch, you have to select an enemy. And yes, you can charge up your ultimate very quickly, and that's like a slight boost, but you're still limited in exactly... You have to have line of sight on someone and pick them, right? There are so many limitations that it has to make the transformation strong. In the Morrigan's case, the limitations are basically not there. You pick whoever you want, whenever you want, live or dead, whether you can see them or not. You can just pick who you want. How can you have everything, including their relic, their active items? And you don't have cooldowns on these, by the way. Like, if you have enough cooldown reduction on your Morrigan ult, you can use your beads as someone else and then transform into them again, and you have beads again. Like, that can't be right. But you couldn't track that cooldown individually. I understand that. So why can you have access to this, right? It just makes the god strong in a way that is unrelated to gods, right? Again, this is where I land with plus ones. This is the fact that you can use active items and relics is not, it's not the god transformation, which is what this is, in storyline meant to be, right? In lore, the Morrigan is transforming into someone. She's not transforming into Hunbat and also taking his necklace and his fancy shoes that give him, an extra jump or something. That's not the whole point. It's meant to be that she's. I think, is the ultimate called Changeling, right? Like Changeling. I believe it's called Changeling. I'm caster braining that one, so God knows. But a changeling is you are physically transforming into that thing, not copying them, right? Like a cloning thing where you take all of their stuff too. So again, you should just have the god. And does it make it so, oh, well, I don't really want to transform into Hunbats if I don't have Blink? Great, pick someone else. That's the point of the god, in my opinion. I think that is a limitation that you should have.
Counterpoint. Aren't you supposed to get all the items with you? Because if not, if I change it to Humbats and I have a mage build, I won't do much.
See, I would actually prefer that.
Really?
I think there is so much you could do with that, potentially, where, yes, you make the Morrigan out of transformation weaker, but imagine if you could build something different to what they are building. Let's say the enemy team has a Sobek or whatever, and you use your ultimate to changeling into them, but you now have a full damage build. All of a sudden, there's a full damage Sobek coming at them that they have to deal with, or something like that. Hey, what if you could turn into the aspect form of a god? That would be cool as hell. But you don't get the items. You have what you have with you. I would prefer that.
Here, I think you're going a little crazy.
Why can't we go crazy? It's UE5. The whole point of Smite 2 is it's meant to be bigger and better. Why can't we go crazy? Why are we copying the items? Like, I know why, right? You have to have some items, otherwise the god doesn't work. It's probably also a lot easier to code it than it is just a direct copy. Like, you just change the name of player 1 to be player 2 for this, 10-second duration or whatever. I understand the sort of real life limitations behind it, but if we want to think in a concept of gods being powerful, Morrigan should be able to do crazy stuff. You know, like Morrigan
Yeah.
is a crazy god. That's the whole point. It's a god of like madness and confusion and trickery. Why can't they become Aspect Sobek and slice through the whole team?
Why
Because
can't
that's what
they
Sobek does now
have
on
their
Aspect.
relics and active items, Judas?
Because
They're a god.
that's like an
They should
additional
be.
thing. They have their own active, right? Because like again, you could blink in alt and then blink again. Why? That doesn't make sense to
Well,
me. I
if
think it
if
doesn't
I
make sense that you have the relic.
if I turn into a Sylvanas that has built 3 active items, and then I
Yeah.
turn into him, and 3 of my items are useless, or I can't use them, I would feel like that's pretty bad. That's a bad
But
Morgan play.
like you could like here we go. You could, for example, build a Scepter of Dominion into an enemy that has Scepter of Dominion, and you could drop a scepter on 5 members of the enemy team, and then immediately ult into someone on their team who also has Scepter of Dominion and Scepter of Dominion them again for 10 seconds of just not playing.
Yeah, I
Why?
mean that's what makes
Why
this
do you
character
get it?
cool and
Why do you get
fun.
this thing? Why? But that's items. Why don't they? Why don't you actually
She does
use the god?
nothing with her ultimate outside of becoming the enemy god, and you're gonna take
Yeah,
away half of becoming the enemy.
I fully believe that should be the case. I think. Do you know what? Do you know what? Though we actually saw this. I witnessed this live. This
Yeah.
live in action. Right. That Smite 2, the big tournament in Las Vegas. Okay. And for anyone who doesn't remember, there was a game where in the finals, I forgot the name of the two teams, but Scream picks up Aladdin. First time we ever saw Aladdin.
Right.
Crazy. And Genetics had a counter in mind. Okay. Picked the Morrigan support, which was legal at the time. And the plan was if I get ulted by Aladdin, or I don't know if it was anyone gets ulted by Aladdin, but when Aladdin ults, Morrigan transforms into Aladdin and then ults him back. Okay?
Okay.
And you know what? Didn't work. If Aladdin was already in the lamp and Morrigan transformed into Aladdin and also lamped back, it didn't reset anything. It just didn't do anything. It completely
It would be way cooler if they had like Inception. We go 1 level deeper.
yeah. You switch into the roles reversed lamp and everything, and then the
Yeah,
transformation ends, and you come out of that lamp, and you're back in the first lamp.
yeah, that'd be
Would have
way
been. It was a
cooler.
cool idea. No, it doesn't work because that's too complicated. Um,
Yeah, well,
I don't
that's
like.
Hyrus's fault. That's not the Morgan
Yeah,
Ulta's fault that
this is
it
what I'm
doesn't
saying.
work like
That's what
that.
I'm saying. I don't like that we should have limitations like that because you already
Ah,
are
you just
limited,
want
and you can't just
limitations
do
on active
everything that the
items or
god does.
relics.
Exactly, because you're transforming into the god, not the relics and everything.
I agree to
I,
disagree on that one. Agree to
I
disagree.
am finally, for once, in favor of removing that specific +1. I have other ways I would like it to work, but the fact that you can just, again, if the Morrigan got caught in lane or in the jungle or something, they can beads out of an Ares ult, and then the solo laner jumps in. Let's say it's a Cerberus, and then tries to ult them as well. You can then transform into someone else who has beads, and then beads again. It's
Yeah,
like but that beats is like a free cooldown, right? I
just
think
a lot of
that's where
buttons to
the
press. That's your
what
reward.
I think the thing that I would like is that just the active cooldown or the relic cooldown is tied to the Morrigan's relic. I think it would be much better if she kept her own relic, went into the transformation, so then you can build Blink Morrigan if you want Blink on who you transform into, or you can build beads if you want beads on who you transform into. Right? Sometimes it's going to be less than optimal, and sometimes it's not, and that's fine in my opinion. I don't like the Morrigan ult specifically with relics. Actives I could maybe be convinced on, particularly with the way that you just copy a build. If you did copy a build and didn't get any of the actives, maybe you should have picked someone else. Is my first question. But the other one is, yeah, I can understand you might even be picking a god specifically because they've invested in those actives. That's a nice little counterplay, right? That there is genuine. Like you might think, I would love to build Cersei's Hexstone, but if I build that and it's really strong and it could be good for the Morrigan, then she gets it too, right? I don't want that. It does come into it. So, relics, I hate actives, a bit
That's
more
on that.
inclined on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would happily see the relics removed, and that's it.
All right. So that is 9 no, 1 yes for you, no for
Yes.
me.
Yes.
10 no's or 1 maybe for me.
Yeah, you got
All right.
one maybe and one yes for me. So, see, but not complete haters.
Well, if any of you guys watching, listening, have any other plus ones you'd like to see removed and or discussed on the podcast, please leave a comment below or type in the Twitch chat right now or on the Reddit where I always post on Fridays. Or if you have any other plus ones that you think should be looked at on any other character or from the inbounds on list, please let us know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, though, what if, Judas, think for a second. Look, close your eyes. Think.
All right. Mm-hmm.
What if we were in a different world where
Mm-hmm.
Smite 2 and League of Legends swap places and Smite 2 had 10 million players every month?
Oh.
What about that? Huh? What would the world look like? What would the game look like? What would the landscape? Who would be president in the United States? You know, like what would that world look like?
It would be much, much better. I think it would be.
The world would just be a better place. Yeah,
But yeah, I wanted to bring up this concept because I've seen a lot of discussion on Smite 2 and things like that, and we always bring up like player base and everything and how many active players are going on. But also people like to talk about things like other game modes, right? Like a lot of people want Slash back in the game, particularly for Smite 2. That was a lot of people's favorite game modes. I used to really enjoy playing that casually with friends. Like you could hop into a Discord, play with a couple of people you didn't really know, and just you'd all hop in Slash and have a good time. That was some of my favorite memories of Smite was doing that. Obviously, it's not so possible in Smite 2 right now because we sort of need to keep the player base sort of funneled in the right way. Like we have Arena, we have Assault, and we have Joust and Conquest. That's already probably too many game modes to have like fun and balanced games all the time. But that's the sort of bare minimum, right? Where we wanted, where everyone's landed. But if we were to have 10 million players, what could we do with that? Now, Nicola, I'm going to go through some ideas that I've had, but if you come up with any of your own here, that would be really, really cool. So, for example, it would be nice if you could have like alternate sort of reality setups. Okay, so one of the concepts that I was thinking of is related to Pokemon. So for anyone who's into Pokemon VGC and everything, you have formats where certain Pokemon, certain items, certain Mega Evolutions are available, and some are not. So there are some that we know exist, but they are just not available in this format. And if you could have a lot of players in Smite 2, you could do this too. One of the things I was thinking would be really fun is what if we could have a Smite 2 like throwback to 2014 tournament type thing. So you could play either ranked or a competitive format where you can only play gods that were available in 2014. Once everything's ported over and everything, and we've got more going in. Or you can only play gods from Norse mythology, Egyptian mythology, Greek mythology, the big ones, obviously you can't. Or then we have like another mythology category. Wouldn't it be cool to just be able to split up the game in these ways, right? Problem is, I think you need the player base to do this, right? You need to have.
Didn't we already kind of have this with some of the match of the days we had in Smash?
Yeah. Sometimes you could have a game where it's like, oh, this, but I'm talking like a long-term ranked season where you have regular ranked and also have 2014 ranked.
Chaos
like
ranked.
Chaos ranked. Like you see this in like card games as well, right? You have like formats where you have these card sets are all available, and then there's this other format where you can just use whatever the hell you want. I think that could be a nice little change. I think as well having more spicy game modes again. Thinking the player base increase to just allow these things to be more long term rather than a match of the day setup. So what I touched on earlier, what if you could play Smite, Conquest, and nobody can build items? What does that look like? Like when you're all about the gods, how does that play out? And what is that a more skillful version of the game, or is it a less skillful version of the game? I don't really know. We can't really find out because we don't have the player base for this type of thing. But yeah, I think I would like to sort of conceptualize and explore ideas of what could you potentially do with Smite if you had sort of open access to like, okay, there's no player limitations, no budget limitations because everyone's a billionaire now because there's 10 million players. Like what could you do with this type of thing? And I think Smite has tons of potential for it. What are you thinking, Nicola? Has anything sprung to mind that you'd be interested in?
I mean, we with you talking about this, I mean, what we've seen lately, I kind of pay attention to the League of Legends scene a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just something I watch for the esports, but you kind of hear other stuff. I don't really play the game much. But they recently had an update where they introduced something called League Classic. And it works
Ooh.
much like World of Warcraft Classic, for those who paid attention to the streamers last year. I think in the beginning of the year, they did had like a hardcore server all the streamers were on. Basically, what they've done in League, which is what you could do in Smite, is have a separate game mode or even a separate client, depending on how you want to do it,
Yeah.
where everything is reverted to a specific point in time. So, let's say Season 3. All the characters are only the Season 3 characters. All the items are the Season 3 items. The most broken things you've seen in Season 3 that we didn't understand was broken until, maybe the patch was already over, that will be
Yeah.
in there, and the map would be Season 3 map. All the things would be Season 3 basically, and that's what they've done in League of Legends, for good, good and bad. But it's really fun to see people who are with everything you've learned throughout the years of playing the game being implemented into a day or like a version of the game where no one knew anything. No one were, going this deep into all the items and all the combinations of characters and items you could do, and seeing how everything we've learned, let's try to put that into an environment where no one knew it. So that was my first idea when you started thinking about these like separate game modes and such, and seeing that they've actually done that in League. They did it I think it was last month is when they started this.
Okay, cool.
It's a very recent thing. And I think, because I made the comparison between Smite and League, I think that is exactly something that a lot of people would like to see. Not only because they think Smite this might not be the Smite that they fell in love with, but also because like so many new, like older players don't have time to learn all the new things that comes in. Maybe you now, like maybe back in the day you were a student or whatever, you played in the game all the time. Now you might have a job, now you might have a kid, you might not be that interested in the game. But if you see like, hey, I played during Season 3, I knew everything about the game in Season 3. If I jump in right now, I might know more than people who started playing like as Season 7 and has been playing until now. So some people might come back. Some people, might who have never played Season 3 might want to, check out how the game was, how the map was, how things functioned. All of the bugs might still be there. Some of the some of the stupid things that people like. One of the things, this wasn't Season 3, but one of the things that I always like to think back to is you had a relic or an active item, or it was called just an active. It was like a relic in Smite 2, but it functioned as you had to buy it. It wasn't something you picked at the start of the game, but you could buy basically an active or like a relic that inspired your minions.
Oh yeah.
And
I think it was just called Inspire.
Yeah, it's called Inspire. That's why I call it Inspire your minions. And it made your minions into fire minions. So you could level 1 have a fire wave, and it was like with certain characters, with certain builds or certain matchups, you could like take the tower first wave, and it was so fun. It was like very creative, these kind of things. And if we had the player base to support, and also obviously the money, that is a big thing. A part of having this many players would be that Hi-Res would have way more money, way more experienced developers, probably more available marketing. They could do hire way more developers. They could work on like side fun stuff. Like these match of the days could be way more interesting and deep and creative. Even though I think they've done a pretty good job when it comes to match of the day, some of these things. But like, imagine do you remember the Hercules Trials game mode we had?
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it was like a dungeon you go through. Imagine having that like on a monthly basis or something, like something you could always hop into if, and it's like updated alongside the game. I think having a 10 million player base every month would just open up it would open up so many things, like the esports, the developers, the the things you could do within the game modes. I also think the game would look way more polished. They would not like the artist in Smite. I think is one of the best in the business, but they would be way more. They would be freer to do more
to
than the,
refine it,
yeah,
right?
refine it more than they already are. Yeah, I mean, I would love to have it. I don't think it's ever going to happen because MOBAs is already on the decline. Have been for many years. It's not like the new like Fortnite was the big game in like 2017, where when battle royales became big, and then it was Among Us and these like other thing. Now we're more in like a friend slop,
friend slop time. Yeah.
where everyone is like every streamer is just waiting for one indie game to come up that has like some fun new mechanic that they want to try out. So I don't think it's ever gonna happen. If it happened though, like Smite is also the little brother to League of Legends and Dota 2 and even Hearts of
that's
the
tough
Storm,
to surpass.
Heroes
right?
of the Storm, right? So even if MOBA suddenly picked up, I don't know if Smite would be the one people would go to.
Yeah. But we can dream, right? And this is sort
dream.
of why I wanted to bring it up. As like I want to hear people's dreams. Like if again you uncap Smite, you don't have to worry about budgets. You don't have to worry about the player base. What would you do with Smite? And that's sort of where I wanted to conceptualize.
I would focus on the
this
esports.
like
I would focus on the esports if I was going to do anything.
So much of these spots, right? Like you'd have, we talked about things before. Like you could have like actual full regions, right? Yeah. Like you could talk about like having an NA division, a LATAM division, EU division. You can even split up EU a little bit these days. I think that's something that's happened.
CIS, EU, maybe.
Exactly. Like there's so much you could do with this, and I'd just like to hear a little bit of positivity, a little bit of dreams. So if anyone has like this would be my idea if Smite was king, boom. Let's hear it because I love
please leave a comment.
I love being able to dream like this, right? We don't want to sit here and be like, oh man, imagine if we ever hit 9,000 players. Like, no, we want to dream big.
We have been reaching higher every month, pretty much since a few months back. It's been new peaks every month, and we're nearing the numbers we had right after the big fall off of the open beta. Like right after the open beta, we had like 21,000 concur players.
Yeah.
Then it quickly dropped to like 2,000, and now it's been steadily up to we're around 9,000, maybe 10,000. So yeah, crossing our fingers that whenever that 1.0 update comes out, people will flock back and hopefully stay.
All 10 million of them.
All 10 million. All 10 million. And hopefully 9 million will be PC players because these console players, oh my lord. I had a... Oh, what did I have? It was like, I think it was a Raw. I had a Raw in a casual game that I played not too long ago that for the life of him could never turn around from a Medusa ult. And you saw it. You saw him go like this.
Like,
it was like, you see the like green thing come out and he goes, oh!
Yeah. But that's important in Smite, right? I think it gets a little bit overlooked. Like the direction you're facing is so relevant. Like a Wheelix as well. It is very important for these things. And Loki, like one of my favorite counters to Loki is, I'm getting stabbed in the back. You just turn around and you take like 0.5 less percent damage, like the multipliers. So like it makes a difference. And feel for you console. They need a quick turn button. That'd be pretty cool. Like a boom, spin around button.
I think that was maybe planned at one point where if you press in the one you look with the stick, press that in, it goes 180. Like
See, and that would make a big difference. I think actually that would make console totally viable. It's not better than PC, I think, because you still don't have as much fluidity and control. There's been a few complaints lately about like a lot of people use their ultimate as both triggers, which is like it's like hitting 2 and 3 at the same time, which is the best way to do it from what I've heard from console players. But Smite 2 is quite sensitive, so you might try to go 2 and 3, and then but your second ability is like stim, so it's activated. And you may not have wanted that. You may have been waiting for your ultimate. Right. Hopefully they can improve that a little bit because it sounds like not that console players are being neglected, but with Smite 2 being built with console players in mind from the get-go, right? Like Smite 1 didn't quite have that from the start. They should definitely be... It should be like the most functional MOBA on controller. It might already be that, but you want to make it better and better. Especially like, Deadlock is on the horizon. Who knows if that's going console? I personally believe it would be more popular on console than on PC. So you kind of want to be ahead of that for when that does
Right, yeah.
eventually drop.
All right, we've had some bugs over the years. Smite.
Yes.
One of the bugs that you showed me. It's just
Fixed bug. Fixed bug.
hilarious. Okay, I'm just gonna read it out. Fixed an issue where Kalibot would rage quit during a conquest match. Okay, so not only you can't escape it. Like, not only if you play a casual game by yourself, you have some random teammates that might just like rage quit if they die. 1 minute into game. Now the bots do it as well. You're like you're finally home from a long day in the mines. You've been mining coal. You've been breathing in black smoke, and then you get home. You're playing some Smite. You're like, oh, I don't want to deal with people today. I'm just gonna queue a bot match, and then 20 minutes in, the Kali dies, and just sayonara. Like, I don't understand that this would ever be in the game, and why would Iris notice at rage quitting? How did they know? Did they have an AI, and the AI said like, fuck this, the Ymir bot keeps walling me.
It's like typing to like the devs in like a bug report, like this guy's focusing me in lane. Yeah, it's
ChatGPT is truly, of the age,
truly alive, and yeah, it was just so funny. I'm happy. Right, this has always been one of my favorite things with Hyra, is the way they publish patch notes and everything. I am happy that it was displayed this way, because no doubt someone got this bug report and thought it was hilarious. And yes, they have to fix it. They absolutely have to fix this. But it's funny that they fixed it, and they're like, yeah, by the way, guys, Calibot used to rage quit.
Salute to that guy who sent in the bug report, by the way.
It's such a nice. It's almost like a hearty bug, right? Like it happened, whatever. It's maybe trying to think back to like just other bugs I've seen over the course of Smite. I always used to tune into the patch note shows and everything way back, open beta for Smite 1 and everything. I was so hooked on these things. And I used to see some of the funniest, like either bug or just interactions. So one of my favorites was I remember this was Hyra's Bart back in the day, reciting this patch note, and he said after they went onto console for the first time, they kept getting bug reports, people being like, "Oh, why am I spinning? Like I'm just spinning in circles and everything, and like I'm trying to play the game, and I'm just non-stop 360." This is from PC players, right? It's just gone on console, and the PC players are running. Why do I keep spinning? And it turns out that a lot of people would play Smite on PC, but they might play other games with an Xbox controller, right? And they'd have that controller still plugged in, face down on a table, just spinning in circles.
The stick.
And they were having dual controls in. So they had to patch that so that it doesn't do that anymore. But it's just funny that... I mean, nobody was thinking this, right? Like, no one's expecting that. And I think this Kali bot change, it must be something to do with some way that the bots interpret after they die. Like, oh, what should I do next, right? Yeah. And it's going, fuck this. This is my way to improve this game. I'm going to leave. And I thought it was a really, really, really funny change. Nickel, can you remember any bugs in, if not Smite, any other games you've played?
Oh, there's so many. I can't think of one right now that just pops into my head that was super funny. Yeah.
It's always tough, right? Like you know this happens, but also you have to kind of push it out as well. It's like, oh man, I remember that.
I know of a bug. This it isn't funny, but it's kind of funny because it literally impacted the biggest tournament in Counter-Strike. In 2017. There was a bug where if you crouch and jump at the same time, usually in Counter-Strike, if you crouch and jump, because you put your feet up, you can jump higher.
A bit higher, yeah.
But basically, if you jumped and then crouched, your model went, up, but your head stayed down. So if you jumped first, then crouched, it's like you're, whatever. And then you could do this near a wall. So, like, if you were to jump high up, you could see over the wall. But if you crouched, you could see over the wall because your viewer model goes over the wall, but your model crouches in the middle of the air So the enemy
Oh.
didn't see that you jumped over the wall for info. So this is very typical in Counter-Strike. It's like the most important thing is information. Where is the other team at? So
Mhm.
that you could stand near, particularly on Inferno, there's a half wall, like a wall that's kind of, low to the ground, and you can't see over it, but if you jump, you can. So that is what we call a jump spot, where you just, jump to see if there's any enemies behind the wall.
Mhm.
And a team, like everyone in the tournament said, we're not gonna abuse this bug. Gentleman handshake,
Yeah.
we're not gonna abuse this bug. One team, I'm not gonna try to call any, nationality out, but it just so happens that there were Germans, okay? And we have some history
Ah.
in Europe with Germans, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. And anyway, so the Germans, it was called the team, or no, it was Big Clan, I think, Big Clan, or yeah, that team decided that to one of the favorites of the whole tournament, FaZe Clan, in their game against them, they abused the shit out of it, and you could just see it on Twitch, watching like 100,000 to 500,000 people watching. These Germans abused the shit out of it, and FaZe Clan had no idea because you don't
Yeah.
know that they're doing it, and you've
Yeah.
all gentleman handshake shook that you're not gonna do it, so you think they're sticking to it. And it just looked so stupid because obviously in Counter-Strike they're so good that it sometimes looks like they're cheating, but they were actually cheating.
Yes.
So you didn't even know the
Yeah.
difference. You just saw that suddenly they're swinging around the corner and they just know that there's three of you there. And yeah, that's the only thing I could think of that was like such a big bug that it stuck with me.
Yeah. Another thing though, we want to hear it. If you know of a bug that's happened in a competitive game in particular, right? I know like speedrunners, they're like bugs, they're their best friends. Like we don't need to know that stuff. Some of it's cool. There are some really cool speedrunning bugs. But particularly in games that are like competitive, particularly like the live service ones, right, which
Yeah.
are dependent on functioning correctly. Like you shouldn't be able to go into a tournament with this type of bug, right? Like you're describing for the Counter-Strike one. Now, obviously, we've had things in Smite as well. Like I remember there was a Morgan Le Fay bug for a long time where you could like basically cast your first ability like with no cooldown. Um, but it was very deliberate. You couldn't accidentally do it. So it was basically agreed upon like, hey, you can play competitive Smite as Morgan Le Fay, but don't you dare. Like, don't even think about it, because if you do it, we will know. Like, it's very, very clear, and it was like an instant DQ and stuff. These things do happen, but I'd love
Oh,
to hear about some that, especially ones that didn't get noticed. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
I just thought of a bug in Smite that has happened in competitive.
Let's go. Let's go.
In I think was this season? I must have been one of the later seasons, like 7 or something, 6 or 7. On the, I think it was the purple map. Like it was like split between purple. It was chaos side and more light on the light side, or in the order.
Yep.
And I think a pro player was fined for this. Might have been Cyclone Spin, but I'm not. Don't quote me on that. If you stand at the wall, because the fire giant used to have a wall behind him. You stand
Yep.
inside, like into the wall, and start hitting the fire giant. He wouldn't aggro.
Oh.
So you could just
Wow.
stand there, never take damage, and it would whittle down. So I don't remember when it was or who did it, but that was basically, I think, whenever you know of a bug, you're supposed to report it to high res and not
Yeah.
abuse it. And
Yeah.
they clearly knew it. They used it, and they used it to win. No one knew he was doing Fire
Oh.
Giant, or I think they were fighting somewhere else, so they had
Yeah.
no idea. And the ADC was just standing there near the wall, just like pew 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 at the Fire Giant. So
Yeah.
that
You
is
can't be doing that. I think I
can't be
remember
doing
a
that.
bug very early. This is back when, this is like pre season one
Mhm.
Smite, where it's just like the weekend tournaments. And I vaguely remember watching a game where a player sort of inexplicably picked Arachne, right? Which nobody was doing at the time.
Yeah.
Nobody's picking Arachne. But it turned out there was a bug where, convenient bug, where you could put the aggro for Fire Giant on the little eggs back when Arachne had like eggs
Oh,
that would
right,
hatch
right,
and,
yeah.
and, and release spiders. And you could like trigger so you had to aggro the Fire Giant as Arachne for the spiders to aggro onto the fire. But then if you left the pit, if everyone left the the fire giant would aggro its nearest target, which was the spiders, but the spiders didn't take damage from fire giant. So you could just spam eggs, and the spiders will always chain out, and the fire giant will always attack them, but the spiders don't take any damage. It was obviously a bug, but I believe the player was like not aware it was like a bug, and more, at least their argument was,
yes, this is surely just, like, intended.
Like, oh, well, the spiders are just tanky enough to take it during the side. Yeah, like he was just seeing, like, all of a sudden the fire giant's gone down, and there's this player taking fire giant again with Arachne on their own. And I vaguely remember that. It was definitely a bug. I can't remember it actually happened in a competitive game, but I remember this being like, this was back when it was long before Arachne's like rework. It was like by far the worst god in the game until she could do this. All of a sudden, there's some reason to pick Arachne, but just outright not okay. And but yeah, I'd love to hear some any more examples anyone's got, because these are always fun, especially when they don't exist anymore. It's nice to know.
So please don't let us know about the current bugs, because we know there's a lot of them, and we don't want to, let people know so they can abuse them in the rank queues. Right. You got a story you wanted to tell Judas.
All right, yeah.
I've been waiting for this story, guys. I have never heard the story, but Judas said it's a good one. So everyone, grab your popcorn.
It's a famous time. So I remember back when Smite 1 was ending and Smite 2 was opening up, and there was like a Twitter thread from someone, I can't remember who, unfortunately, where they basically said, "Hey guys, what was your biggest impact in Smite 1? Like, what did you do? What are you known for?" Because it might be like a meme that someone created, it might be a bug, it might be a clip, right? And lots of people were sharing these, and I couldn't share mine at the time, or at least I felt like I shouldn't. However, it has been a while, and it's not totally like, oh, you shouldn't talk about this stuff. But at the time, I was like, not sure if I should. Now I think we're far enough away, and basically everyone who was there is now fired. So I think I can talk about this now.
Okay.
Right. So, my biggest impact, particularly on the pro scene, despite being an SCC caster, I still believe this was a bigger impact. So once upon a time, I was not part of the casting team, but I was part of the broadcasting team. And my job is I was what's called an observer. This is the guy who handles the spectator camera for the live broadcast and just shows the casters what's happening, shows the audience what's happening. Well, some of you might remember that there was like an overlay on the game feed. So it wasn't just the game feed. You also had like Fire Giant and stuff. And you would have like when someone purchased an item in particular, it would pop up saying, "Oh, Soul Reaver purchased," or whatever. This was a separate program. This is a little peek behind the curtain, but like I said, I don't believe any of this is, privileged information. Plus, I never signed an NDA. Sorry. Anyway, this was a separate program that we used called the Combat Logger. And the Combat Logger was a piece of software that is not meant for, like, consumers, is the best way I can describe it, in that it was absolutely horrible to actually use. It came out the other on feed, totally fine. It looked nice. Like, it actually showed, like, who took Fire Giant and stuff and what ability. Really, really good stuff. And I hope it's something that we bring into Smite 2. Hopefully a little bit better than this one was. Anyway, one of the things that I had to do as my job is I would broadcast SOC games, that is the Smite Open Circuit. We'd broadcast the Smite Open Circuit games a week after they had actually taken place via a demo. So what a demo was just basically a spectator-only version of the game. So there was a separate client where you could only spectate demos. And my job was to test these demos before the broadcast to make sure that they actually worked all the way through. So we're not like 20 minutes into a game and the demo crashes. If it worked once, it was always going to work. So we always used to test them. So I was watching SPL on my second screen, and I'm like, all right, I've got SOC, and it was the last set of the day. So probably in about 2 hours, I've got SOC. I'm going to test my demos now. This was also my first time attempting to utilize the Combat Logger. And what the Combat Logger needed, when it was a demo system, it needed you to boot up the demo, enter your Smite game files, and pull out the usernames of the players to enter them into the combat logger. You couldn't just type them in because these guys had stupid names with stupid characters in them. You had to literally copy and paste them, otherwise it wouldn't work. So again, this might sound like a lot of work. Yes, it was. I was like doing this, and I was like, yeah, I have to go through these files and stuff. It was. This was a pain in the ass, which is why you did it a couple of hours before the broadcast and not when you're going live in 20 minutes, right? This is why it was part of my job to be prepared for this. Again, I tried to utilize the combat log of the week before, and I just couldn't get it to work right. So I needed, because we were trying to do it like live, and while I had minutes, and yeah, too much time pressure, decided to do it this time where I had a little bit more of a window. So, to test these demos, you had to watch them. Obviously, I didn't want to sit there for potentially 35 plus minutes watching these demos, so you could just fast forward them to the end. And as long as the demo like completed, as long as you saw the Titan go down, the demo would work at normal speed, right? There was no issue with that. What this also let me test was the combat logger. So I could boot up my demo, get the combat logger set up, and you could actually see on the system if it was picking up these things that were happening. And I couldn't actually see it on my screen, like because I didn't have the overlay visible. That would just be broadcast out. But what I could see was that the file was picking up that these things were changing. So why is all this relevant, you might ask? You might say, so why are you just telling me about like your day job for that time, which you just said was miserable? Why would this happen? So I learned a very harsh lesson that day. And it turns out I had my own version of the combat logger. I had my own, the Smite, the demo file was effectively offline. Like I said, it was a separate client. It wasn't going anywhere. As far as I'm concerned, I'm just in my own little world practicing my demos and getting ready for the broadcast ahead. But the combat logger within itself actually transmitted to a location. And it transmitted the info it was receiving to a website, basically, like a web browser, which is what you would then use to display on the broadcast.
Right, yeah.
Totally unknown to me, this was also the overlay that was being used on the currently live SPL broadcast.
No.
So during a game, which I remember Gormizer was casting, I don't remember who the other caster was, but I remember Gormizer's casting this. And they're talking over this game, and all of a sudden, because I am fast forwarding at 16 times speed through this game, all these players are building their items. So every single build at the bottom of the screen is just saying, item purchased. Boom, 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 boom. It's incredibly distracting. A million things going. Fire Giant gets taken. Gold Fury down. Boom, there's something. It's like fireworks popping up on the screen to show all this stuff's going on. Meanwhile, I have no idea. I've got the stream on, but I'm just listening to it. The casters obviously aren't talking about this. It is literally fireworks, right? And I'm just testing my stuff, doing my combat logging, whatever. I got a message on Discord from someone who's involved with Hi-Rez. They're like, hey, are you playing with the combat logger? Oh my god. I'm like, oh, no way. Is that actually broadcasting? I stop it immediately. Open up to... But keep in mind, this is about the third game I've tested. This wasn't just a 10-minute... They didn't know who was doing this. I was the new guy. They had no idea who could be doing this, possibly. I then look over the stream, and the Twitch chat is literally just, item purchased, oh my god. Everyone is talking about how many items are being purchased. It got named. It got designated on Twitter as the Great Purchasing. And I was desperately trying to find the tweets before broadcast. I couldn't find it today. But yeah, I'll have to try to track down the game. But man, it was so like, I couldn't believe that I had no idea. Again, totally innocently, I was just doing my job, and I was supposed to make sure the demos worked. I was not supposed to test the combat logger, but nobody told me why I shouldn't test the combat logger. And I had to find that out the hard way, unfortunately. And again, this wasn't just a one-game thing. This went on for the whole thing until someone narrowed it down to what the hell was going on. And because I think the first time they just turned it off. They're like, what's going on with this? It's bugging out. Okay, switch off. Then the next game comes through. They turn it back on because I was obviously between my demos, so it was working fine now. And then all of a sudden, boom! Item purchase, here we go. And oh man, it was it was I was like getting ready to hand in my resignation and all that. I was like, well, I'm done. Like, this is it for me. But thankfully they were okay.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
yeah,
I would hope that they one didn't use the same browser link because well, for OBS I use this now where you have certain browser links as sources. I would
yeah.
have hoped that they have one separate for SCC or SOC and SPL.
I think it was because the actual combat logger itself just in like hard coded into the software. It was that
Yeah,
it
then I
connected
would
to
hope
this
that they
source.
would not hard code that into the
I mean,
software.
look, we need we need 10 million players for that, Nickel. It's not
Okay,
happening
right.
before.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, it was yeah.
You're right.
Again, it
That's
was
more of
because
a
it helped with the
5 million
smoothness of
player
it.
type of
Yeah, maybe
type
up to
of
5 million
software.
we get it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was again. I understood why that was the case, and we were trying to basically level up the SOC broadcast to look like the
Yeah.
SPL ones. And yeah, eventually
That's
we did
funny
use the
though.
combat logger. But man, do you know that like everyone's had something like that happen to them? You know, you just see something pop up like a Discord message from again a guy. I was aware of who this person was, but I didn't have to interact with them. They were like a couple of steps above where I needed. I was like, oh, why are they messaging me? Oh no, it's like man, it's like hearing from your boss's boss's boss
Yes.
that something's
Yeah.
gone wrong. Do you know what this is? And you know exactly what that is. And yeah. Yeah, that was a tough day, but
If it's gotten to the boss's boss and he messages you, then you know he's probably right. That it's your fault.
yeah,
When he
yeah,
asks, "Hey, are you doing something wrong?" Oh
yeah.
man.
But I had fun.
Yeah.
Again, it was a moment. To my knowledge, it was one of those like late season games where like nobody cared about the result anyway. So like, I don't
Okay.
think it was the worst game for it to happen on.
No,
But
it was
yeah.
just the world's finals.
Yeah.
No one cared.
But you know that did cross my mind because that later that season it was World's Finals and the combat logger was on stream, obviously, and I was like, I have that on my computer. I
I
was
have
like,
that power.
like I wonder if I want to just mess this up with that, but that would get me fired. I could get away with it one day. But yeah,
Doing
after
an
that, oh man.
accident's fine, but if you were to like make a demo yourself where you're buying certain items to spell out some words and then and then you're making that pop up, that'd be fun.
Oh.
All right. Well, it's already been over 2 hours, so we're gonna wind it down. First of all, though, we have a Q&A. So if you have any questions that you want to ask us, or any feedback you want to give us, or anything you just want to tell us, please leave either a comment in the comment section below on YouTube or on Reddit, or if you're catching us live in the Twitch chat. And we already have a question that was sent in on the Reddit from, bring up his name real quick, Poker Faces LOL. He is a top 1% commenter on the Smite Reddit, so if you frequent the Smite Reddit, you've probably seen him around. He asks, what are your favorite, as in ours, our favorite god or aspect concepts that we've seen on Reddit or on other social medias? And I'll begin, because I have a god aspect. Judas has an aspect aspect. Yeah, concept. Sorry, that was it. I have a god concept. You have an aspect concept. I actually have two. I really wanna. One of them is more topical. That's why I brought that one. And that's Odysseus. We have the Odyssey by Christopher Nolan being played in every cinema right now. I think Odysseus. They've already talked about it in the Q&A and said that it's going to be pretty hard to bring him in because he has so many things about him that they would want to add, and with only 4 abilities and a character with so many facets to him, it's kind of difficult to bring everything in. You would obviously want the Trojan horse, which is what he's most famous for. Something about his bow, because Odysseus' bow, which we already have in the game as an item, for those who don't know, is kind of like the culmination of the Odyssey, is when he spoilers for a 3,000-year-old story. He strings his bow, Odysseus' bow. He managed to string it and shoot it through 12 axes. And there's, way more stuff. You have Cyclops, the lotus flowers, so many things.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to touch on this because this was made 5 years ago, so way before this movie was ever a thing. And obviously everyone, maybe not everyone, but most people know about the Odyssey before this movie was a thing. and I think it was just really well thought out. It had something called Athena's Virtue, which would be what his what his mana would be. So he would have, similar to Kokolin, not a mana bar, something he builds up. And Athena's Virtue, for those who don't know, Odysseus, throughout the story of the Odyssey, he gets a lot of help from Athena. Athena is like his patron god. It's like the one she really likes Odysseus and helps him throughout his journey. And so instead of a mana, he would build this up through basic attacks and certain stuff, and then his abilities would get better, or go better if you have certain amount of this bar, Athena's Virtue. And it incorporates the Cyclops. He has, like, in the story, he spears a Cyclops in the eye with a spear and with his men, so he has that which he can throw. And one of the cool things he had is he throws it, and it lands on the ground next to a god if it hits a god with it, and then he can pick it up to reduce the cooldown. I think that's a really cool concept. I wish we saw more of that in Smite. Something I see a lot in League, where they have these, like, things you can pick up to decrease the cooldown. Do we have something similar to that in Smite?
The closest thing immediately in my head is you can catch the Naja ring toss now.
Yeah, that is
sort of does the same thing.
Pretty similar, except it would land somewhere else and you would have to walk to it. And that would, he's a hunter, by the way, in this concept. And I think obviously for hunter it will be maybe a little different. You might don't want to walk into the enemy team as you've thrown this, but I think it's a fun mechanic to have anyway, where if I want to really, pressure this even more, I have to go even more aggressive, pick this thing up, and then they have the Lotus Flower in there for as one ability, just healing. And what the Lotus Flower does in the story is it kind of makes you forget all your worries, and you don't want to go home, and you kind of forget about your home over time. And it would give you healing as Odysseus, and then any enemy around you, much like Bacchus ult, would be intoxicated. So I think like that functions pretty well. That's very thought out, I think. A good way to bring that in. Then he has a little dash, much like Rama's dash. It's like he slides in a direction, and then he shoots some arrows while sliding. That works out also because Odysseus' bow. The bow is kind of the culmination of the story.
Yep.
And last one is his ultimate, which is like a cone of wind. So he doesn't have the Trojan horse in this one, but it's like a cone of wind. And anyway,
which is the bag of wind, yeah.
Yes, exactly. The bag of wind. Again, for those who don't know, in the story, he gets a bag of wind from Aeolus, I think it's his name. Aeolus gives him a bag of wind, which holds all the horrible winds, all the bad storms. And then Aeolus gives him a really good wind and sends him on his way, but says you can never open the bag or you'll get knocked off course. And then obviously in the story the bag gets open. I don't want to spoil it for you, but for whatever reason someone opens the bag and knocks him off course. And yes, so it was, from what I read, obviously this isn't visualized that well because it's a concept art, but from what it functioned much like the Heimdall 2, where you have like this cone, except things are being knocked around away from you. They're knocked back instead of knocked up, or whatever.
Yeah.
I think all in all, this really spoke to me because I love the story of the Odyssey. I haven't actually watched the movie yet. I'm going to do that on Saturday. But I really love the story. I love the Iliad. I love the Odyssey, and this just was really topical right now, so I wanted to bring it up. And also, I thought it was very well thought out. It had brought in a lot of the things in the story that is what you know Odysseus for, and you kind of you get the story through his kit, and that's kind of what you want. That's what I feel like with Lancelot and King Arthur, they could have maybe incorporated a little more.
Nice. Yeah.
That was a long one, so I'm not going to bring the other one up, but just to quickly mention it, Swami, I think is how you pronounce it. I'll bring up the quick image here, but I won't go through the whole thing. Swami, really cool Hindu god. This one had way more visuals and stuff, really thought out, so it just really looked cool. the character model and the different animations that they had already thought out. So just want to give a shout out to that. Kaios Zero was the one that made the Karab Swami one, and the Negus Ao is the one that made the Odyssey concept. So those two on Reddit, thank you very much for making new concepts. Anyone else that are listening to this and who makes concepts, you are so cool. I saw while researching concepts, I saw the Nut concept, by the way. So they straight up just took the Nut aspect and made it into a Smite character. So if you're thinking that Smite doesn't read, or the Hi-Res doesn't read those, and they don't really, look at what the community brings, Nut was a concept and was just brought into the game. So keep doing that. Keep making those concepts. They're really cool to read, and some people are way more creative than what I would ever be, or what some of the Hi-Res employees are. No offense. Yeah. You had an aspect concept.
Yes, I found an Odin aspect from, I'm going to attempt to say this name. I believe it is Foxit, but it's PH0XIT. That's my best guess. But it's basically, what I like about aspect concept. Like if you were to come up with an aspect, I think you've got a couple of rules that you probably should follow. One thing is you need to try to keep the animations the same, right? Because that's one of the rules, is the effects kind of need to look very similar. But then you also, I think, should be able to incorporate like mechanics that maybe are underutilized. So like with your Odysseus one there, having intoxicate on one of his abilities is really cool, because that's something you just don't really see very much. It's in like a couple of things. And this one I saw with this Odin concept. So it is actually how to make Odin basically an ADC, which was, funny enough, one of the complaints about early aspects was that it was basically just, oh hey, this god but ADC.
Yeah.
And since we had too much of that, we've now had probably, I would say, too little of that, where you're not really seeing that type of concept anymore. But I thought this one for Odin was pretty cool, because it made a lot of sense. So does it have a name? Let me see. No, it doesn't look. You just call it Aspect of Gungnir. Okay, yeah. So Aspect of Gungnir. So basically, he starts throwing spears, or a physical representation of the spears. Which, like, funny enough, I actually quite like. Yeah, much like Anhu, but I quite like if you were to keep the Odin like attack chain the same. He could visually sort of do that, and it could sort of swing out from him. That could be pretty cool.
Okay.
But that was simple. That you have just regular ranged basic attacks. But then for his second ability, instead of the shield, you then get the crow from Odin, which basically functions similarly to Jean-Qui's book, where it activates and then it sort of fires auto attacks alongside you. I thought that could be really cool.
Right. Okay. Like the scroll. Yes, the one.
Yes.
For
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it sort of just adds. So that's basically his stim form.
Yep.
Then he had his so the three, instead of it being like a pulsing spear, instead you literally just throw it out, and it now just slows a target, probably similar to how the effect is if you leave the Odin cage, where sort of Gungnir spear sort of flies and tracks them. This
like
already
thing?
Yeah, like a homing, like just sort of locks on, boom, now you're slowed. And I like that because one thing that we have very little of in Smite is, so we have a lot of hard CC, right? Which is basically, you lock someone down, now you just boom, 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 basic attacks in them. And there are certain gods that do this really well, like you think like Artemis, you think Anher, where you just lock down a target and then you try to kill them before they actually break out with that.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite things is when you have something in the kit that doesn't make it so you can't miss, but makes it easier to hit auto attacks in some way. So one thing I really like is, for example, Izanami has this. Similarly, I was going to say Jibalanke, where you can hit the sort of poison darts and get the slow. Then you activate your ultimate, and now you have a slow-moving target that you just boom, 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 boom. That's what this does too. You sort of slow someone down, and then you just sort of like, I assume from this concept, it looks like you still keep the jump. So you now have the option to sort of chase down a target, and it's again similar to the way that Anhu would play, but it's again got its own little uniqueness. But I really like the ultimate, where instead of an Odin cage, it is now like a cage that you lock down and sort of surround yourself in. It now like forms at Odin and then just pushes out, like just like a
Mm,
boom, like sort of slam everyone away, similar to an Aphrodite knockback.
right. Okay.
I, I I just thought it's like very simple. Like, hey, here's Odin, but now he just has again a little bit of a slight change. Like instead of having the shield, he has the crow, which is actually a bit more relevant to his lore. Which technically is in the game, by the way, in his passive, that he has a wider vision. If you didn't know, or at least he used to have this, I'm assuming
Okay.
it's still in the game. But yeah, originally Odin passive was because of the crow, he just has a bigger vision area. I don't even know if that's still in the game because
How
it
does
didn't
that
matter
even
when it was
work?
in the game.
How does that
It's
even
just
work?
well,
Because
like you
you
know
can
the
already see as far as you can
so
see.
it you could stand closer to the jungle and it could see into the jungle for you,
Oh, so
basically.
like you would
So
get instead of just a cone you can see in front of you right now, it would like spot like
it's
you
the
were a
circle, yeah.
ward. Okay.
So yeah, like your circle on the map, everyone has like a circle around them of vision. Odin, again, I don't even know if it's still in the game. It's so irrelevant. But it's like a bigger vision range, and I could actually see that being very useful nowadays. And but yeah, like that's how the crow is currently used in the game. And it's kind of like just not there. So having it actually appear as like an assistant to Odin, that could be really cool. But I also like the idea of the ultimate, right? Like a really cool, just like a boom, like just a spread out sort of cage fight. Again, much bigger than the Aphrodite 2. Because again, it's just like the amount of ways you can use it is always my favorite thing. Like you can use it aggressively or defensively, and it's still very cool. But still utilizing just Odin as he is, I thought it was a really nice way to sort of introduce concept. You could do these concepts which are like, oh yeah, and then he like pulls the sun down from the sky and does cool stuff. Yeah, no, but that's
Yeah.
not in the game. What do we have that we can use? And yeah, I thought that was a really nice and simple character, but really nicely done. And yeah, I really like again creativity through restriction. I think is what I really like to see from
Yeah.
some aspects. So yeah, that was one of my favorites that I found.
I mean, that sounds really interesting. I think making, because what we see a lot less is making tanks into damage characters. Like we see it with
Mm-hmm.
the Geb aspect. We
Mm-hmm.
saw it with for a brief moment with the Atlas aspect.
Yeah,
But then he got nerfed into the ground.
yeah. Now it's gone.
Yeah, now it's gone. But for the most part, I feel like most tanks, the warriors and guardians, will just become either mages or a different type of tank.
Yeah.
And it would be more cool if they maybe tried to discover a little more in the other areas, like an assassin tank, or like a guardian that's an assassin, or a warrior that's a hunter, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So Odin as a hunter sounds really cool. All right, well, that's gonna be it for us. Again, if you have any questions, feedback, or whatsoever, Twitch chat, YouTube comment section, or Reddit, we always read everything, and we want to make this as best as we can make it. Right now, we're very bare bones. We've only been doing this for 8 weeks, but hopefully to many more, Judas. Yeah, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Bye bye.